Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast. I think we missed last week. We're back this week. Hopefully, we'll be weekly from here on in, except for spring break and probably a few other instances here and there. But we didn't get to something in these past two episodes that we wanted to do, which is our top 10 of the 2010s of the decade.
Dun dun dun.
So looking at it now, we've done a special every week for 3
Every
weeks.
week for four
weeks, yeah.
episodes.
I mean,
technically.
every episode's a
3
special
episodes, 4 weeks,
Right.
I guess.
Every
I guess
episode is
Well, we
special
weren't here
episode.
last week.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So, it's not going to be a guessing game that just take way too long.
Right.
We have three. So we
Get way
have
too frustrated.
we going back to the Catacast games. We have 3 different categories for our top 10s: video games, movies, and TV. And so the way that this is going to work is we're going to go around. We're going to list off all of our honorable mentions, and then we'll go my number 10, Caleb's number 10, Sawyer's number 10, and then then I will give for the actual lists. There are 3 minutes allotted to each entry, which maybe don't spend all 3 minutes on each entry, but
You're going to get played off stage.
yes.
Start the Oscars, you know.
And I think that those are the only ground rules I have.
Maybe one day we'll include books, comics, music, something.
Yes,
And
maybe
about-
one day. But right now,
Probably music.
At least music.
music. I think when I'm gone, I think there will be an opportunity to fill the void that is
Fill the
music
void.
on this show.
So I can just talk about every metal album every week.
Yes, but right now we are limited to TV, movies, and games, and as such, that is what we're doing.
Versus
So,
me.
we're gonna start with video games. Ahmad, you did not make a video game
He is excused
list.
from a video game
You are-
list.
Yes, you
I-
have recused yourself from the.
I shamefully decline.
So I'll start with my honorable mentions for the top 10. Again, there's no guessing game, so it doesn't really matter what your honorable mentions are. So the way that I went about my lists is that sort of functionally my honorable mentions are an 11 through 20, except not ordered. So I'm going to list these off, and these are 11 through 20 of my top 20 in any order, basically. So at the top, Final Fantasy 15,
I played it.
Marvel,
Played the first 3 hours, didn't finish it.
Marvel
We'll get to
Spider-Man,
Okay.
Destiny, and Destiny 2 as sort of
Interesting.
an addition to that. Sonic Mania,
Doesn't surprise me. Oh, actually, it kind of surprised me it's not in the top 10.
Pokemon Black and White 2, Kid Icarus Uprising, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Azure Striker Gunvolt and Gunvolt 2, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and Tales of Xillia 2. Those are my honorable mentions for the video games.
You know, based off of that list, you need to start watching Scott the Woz, the YouTuber. Scott the Woz.
I'm sure I do.
Yes, you do. Shout out to Scott the Woz.
I
He's
think
good.
Scott the Woz shows up quite frequently in my recommendeds,
He's great.
and I just have so many other YouTube channels to watch.
He just
So-
did an anime game special. Talked a
Nice.
lot about Dragon Ball.
Nice. Caleb,
Honorable
over to you.
mentions.
Yes, honorable mentions.
I decided to forego honorable mentions for.
Oh, that's
so-
right. Yes.
I only have a couple.
Sorry.
Now, I should specify, this goes for all 3 of my lists. This is my top 10s and honorable mentions as of February 18th, 2020. It is liable to change literally in 24 hours.
Yes.
So, I have not played or watched everything that I even want to. So, this
I
will
think
be...
I think that goes for
Especially
everybody.
TV
yeah,
for me.
just a disclaimer. Especially
Yes.
for TVs, me as well.
Yeah, TV
But-
and movies for me.
My honorable mentions for games that are amazing games but didn't quite make the top 10 are Halo Reach, Titanfall 2, Call of Duty Black Ops, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I know
Really?
it's shocking it didn't make my top 10.
That is actually relatively surprising. I didn't think about him at Metal Gear Rising. But...
It was basically number 11, is what I can say for that one. Resident Evil Revelations.
Oh, okay.
I know that's probably for Resident Evil fans a little bit of an obscure pick, but that's probably
It's
my
originally a 3DS game, right?
I played it on PS3 though.
Oh, yeah.
God of War 2018 and Gears of War 2. Are my honorable
Interesting.
mentions. Also, Quantum Break is highly underrated, but it is not an honorable mention. I just had to shout out that game because nobody talks about it.
It's right below the honorable mentions.
It's just off the honorable mentions. Only because it had a couple frame rate stutters.
It's an honorable mention.
It's an honorable mention. Yeah.
Considerably mentionable.
It's considerably mentioned.
Considerably mentionable.
That's.
I gotta
that's
remember
good.
that.
Yeah. I have the three tiers of top 10 list: considerably mentionable, honorable mentions, and then the actual list. So my number 10 in video games is Astral Chain. Now it won my Game of the Year 2019.
Right.
So that should say something about this list. 2019 was a great year in video games, but in terms of my tastes, it did not quite reach the heights of some other years.
All games from 2010, nothing else. That's the rest of his life.
You're kind of in the ballpark on that one, actually. Not quite. Not quite. My top 2 is a little later in the decade.
It's just 9 Sonic games all for the rest of them.
There were not 9 Sonic games in the 2010s.
That genuinely surprises me, actually.
Well, I guess maybe technically
You want
it's
to count
like
the Olympic Games? And
yeah,
Sonic
if you want
All-Stars
to if you want to count the various spin-offs that have or that may or may not have released over the decade, then maybe. But I think even that's a stretch.
I mean, look at Mario. Mario has 9 games a month. It's not even that.
That's unfair.
Okay, well,
That's a little unfair.
I'm exaggerating,
Yes.
but the dude
So-
is famous. He's quite famous.
So, with that, Caleb, what is your number 10?
Number 10.
Jeremy Johns here.
Yeah.
Yes.
This, as we're kind of spoiled it already, I too am also pushing the 2010, pushing the timeline and making a January 9th, 2010 release on my top 10 list.
yes.
Kingdom Hearts Birth by
Yes,
Sleep.
I realized a little late into building my list that Birth by Sleep had released in 2010, but
right.
yeah.
I didn't even I forgot to mention, there's a game that I asked Ezra earlier if it could make it onto my honorable mentions, but it just barely didn't make the cut,
Yes.
only because I was cheating a little bit. Halo 3 ODST came out on the Xbox in 2009,
Yes,
but it came out on PC last year, so it'd be a little bit of cheating.
Well,
but,
worth.
but technically it counts.
Yes.
But
well, if that were the case though, then there would be 3 Zelda remasters on my top 10
Yeah,
list.
okay, well.
So
it's a good game. You should play it. That's all I will
yes.
say.
So
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep was your number 10.
Yes, Birth by Sleep. To keep it short and sweet, because we're going to be talking about this a lot tonight. Birth by Sleep was, I really liked 2,
Yeah.
but it was Birth by Sleep that was this is a great series.
Yeah.
I loved every character, contrary to most people's opinions on Terra.
Also contrary to my opinion, by the way.
I loved every character.
Yes.
And I just love how the story goes.
Yeah.
My only problem is the repetition between each character's story. In terms of, because in that game you play as 3 different characters and you go through the same story, but it's spliced different and you see their perspectives through it all. So it's a really good
really
game.
cool. Yeah.
I thought it was well balanced.
Until Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, it was my second favorite Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah.
So
It's a pretty good game.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree. So with that,
My number 10. So,
number 10.
my number 10 is in its position because, well, obviously it's a great game,
Yes.
but also due to its importance to me in terms of getting into video games, as well as it being it's kind of weird to think that a game that came out in 2011 could have childhood nostalgia for me, but it does. And that game is Infamous 2.
Oh, yes.
I guess I
Infamous
can
2,
put that
yes.
as my honorable mention, y'all. Forgot about that game.
Infamous 2 is like it was
Infamous 2.
because obviously the first one couldn't make the cut because it was like 2009,
Right.
2008, something like
But
that.
I think the second one's better than the first one.
So do I. I think it was between this and Second Son. The only reason I
Sure.
picked this one is I liked the game world slightly better. I
Yeah.
liked the Seattle interpretation in Second Son,
Yeah.
but I also liked just the weird sci-fi isms of the
Oh yeah.
of the first one. The
Yeah.
Second Son kind of felt like X-Men Light, whereas
Yes,
when
Second Son is just an X-Men game without the X-Men.
like it's not a bad game, but if
Yes.
we're looking at Infamous, I really think the second one's the best. The game mechanics are great.
Oh yeah.
I
still know them, and I haven't played
Yeah.
that game in years.
I mean, I need to go back and do it again because the story I'm a little loose on. But
Me too.
man, that second one is it. People always talk about superhero games really got going with the Arkham trilogy.
No, it was.
It was with Infamous is
Yeah.
what started.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yes, Sucker Punch sort of hit the...
Give us a PS5 remaster.
Yes.
Honestly,
of
just
all-
give us a new one
Yeah, I would be down with either.
Yes.
and bring
First,
uh,
Sucker Punch has to finish Ghost of Tsushima.
right.
Yeah.
But bring back the main character.
Cole McGrath.
Cole.
Yeah.
Yes. Cole McGrath for
Crossover.
Smash.
Cole McGrath for Smash. I'll be on board for that.
It-
And
you
that
know,
was
he
exclusive.
kind of be our first superhero representative in Smash.
Can we get Super Smash Brothers versus PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale?
Oh no.
That'd be kind of wild.
Honestly, it would be unfairly balanced towards the Smash.
Yes.
Not imbalanced, broken.
Yeah.
Yes. So my number 9 on my video games list is Dragon Ball Fighters.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know about this game, just search it, Fighters with a Z, because it's Dragon Ball.
Because Dragon Ball.
And this is not going to be the first time you hear about Dragon Ball on my list, but it is the only time that anything Dragon Ball makes it onto the top 10. And the reason for that is that Dragon Ball Fighters is what got me into competitive fighting games. I had played competitive Smash before, but I think Dragon Ball Fighters was really the first game I got good at, and it holds a special place in my heart because of that. And I have consistently enjoyed it for the past 2 years at this point. It came out in 2018, so I would be remiss not to bring Dragon Ball Fighters into the forefront on this list.
I kind of had a similar thing like that too, of game that got me into things.
Yes.
Super Mario Galaxy. It didn't make my honorable mentions or my games, especially also since it wasn't 2010.
Yeah, I think.
But that is 2007. I'm pretty
Yeah, that's right.
because it was a Wii launch game or launch window game.
That's a great game.
Yeah, it's pretty much the game that got me into being a air quotes gamer, as you would say. But yeah.
Made you care about games that weren't sort of your tentpole.
That weren't just bargain bin bought at Kohl's games.
Yeah. Caleb, your number 9.
I'll keep this one brief because we did just talk about this game. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It made the cut. I was.
Yeah.
Who
That's
would have
impressive.
thought?
Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
Because
It's an EA Star Wars
as
game.
someone who was like so reserved and like I probably talked about it on the podcast a couple of times. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna like this game, guys.
Yeah.
And
That was me too.
And as soon as I played it, I'm like,
This is
good.
good.
Now again, I've talked about the problems with that game,
Yes.
which I think is why it's lower on the list.
Yeah.
But if it adjusts those problems with the sequel, it could potentially be higher.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I'm really interested to see what they'll do with the lore in the
Yeah.
sequel. They could do some
Yes.
really neat stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
My number 9 is a game. It's number 9, right?
Yes,
Yep.
number 9.
My number 9 is a game that I've talked about quite extensively on here. And it's Alan Wake. I know you were thinking something else on here.
I was like, is it a Metal Gear
Yeah.
game? Which one is it?
My number 9 is Alan Wake. I know I've been basically just hounding Ahmad to play this game.
No, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it on here before. There's not really much else I should say other
Yeah.
than If you've got a PC, it's on the Epic Game Store now. I know, boohoo, Epic Game Store, whatever. It's great. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One now. It's an amazing game that I think everybody who likes narrative storytelling in video games should play. And the game visually still holds up now. I mean, the character models, their faces are a little bit early 7th generation with that glossy HD look.
Yes.
But the environments all still look great.
Cool. Nice. So my number 8 is a little known JRPG. I don't know if you've heard about it. I don't know if I've talked about it before. Persona 5.
Oh, yeah. It sounds a little familiar.
I think the best way I can describe this game is that it came to me at a time where I had a summer. I was working at Skyline Chili, and I would go home and go downstairs and just play Persona 5. That was my summer, and what a great game to accompany that first job experience with. And not my first job experience, but that job experience with. And I sort of capped off that summer was also the summer that I got my hip replaced, and I think I had finished Persona 5 by that time, but that game will always sort of be attached to my experience during that summer, and holds a special place in my heart because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Caleb, your number 8.
8. I just want to check to make sure. Yeah. Okay. So 8 is a game we all know. You may have played.
You may have.
Actually, you may not. You may not have, Ezra.
I have no idea.
GTA 5.
Oh yes, yeah. I have not played this game.
Okay.
I played it. It's been a while. But
yeah. I love this game. This game. Talk about a multiplayer experience.
Interesting.
The multiplayer experience, the way you can do stuff with friends, it's just like, it's a great type of sandbox game in that not necessarily a sandbox game, but a good collaborative game with your friends.
It's a game that still, 7 years later, still feels massive. Up. Like, it's still the world still feels big.
Well, and it's just still selling hotcakes.
Right.
Like,
well, part of it's because of it's the microtransactions.
Yes.
Really
that's
a whole other
that's
thing.
my biggest problem with that game, is the inability to earn money without paying.
Unless you beat the campaign, which is like 45 hours.
Right. Well, I beat the campaign.
So did I.
I love the campaign. Yeah. Campaign's a great campaign.
Campaign's great, and I will say their mechanic of switching between the 3 characters is really cool. Like, I don't really think I can't really think of another game
which is something that I kind of wish Birth by Sleep did, but.
Birth by Sleep was a PSP game.
Yeah,
but let's not be totally
that
unfair.
into a PSP.
But you could. I was still kind of hoping for, like, with Birth by Sleep, that you could go switch back.
Sure.
forth.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, even
that would have been kind
even when I started it, I was like, oh, so like when do I get the story with these other people? Like when do I switch the character?
And then you realize you have to do 3 separate new games.
Yeah. And it's like Resident Evil 2 type thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think
it's a great game.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're in for a wild ride, it's a mature game.
Definitely.
It's a mature game. But if you're old enough, definitely
check
give
it out.
a go.
Even though most people you hear on GTA Online are like 12.
Unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. That's a topic for another time.
Yes.
All right, Sawyer, what is your number 8?
It's a game I wholly did not expect to be on this list only a couple months ago, and it's Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh,
all right.
Number 8. It's a game that
Congratulations to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
It's a game that I can say.
The Star Wars Council and his labyrinth.
You're on this council. We do not grant you the rank of master. But yeah, I think it's. I mean, we've already talked extensively about this, but I would say really it's just I can say this game came out November 11th. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And I can still say, as of Halloween, I was like, I don't no. Like,
Yeah.
I can just do that.
I was like that up until I got the game in my hand. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and of course, I still watched some of the reviews, and I was like, why not? It's Star Wars.
Right.
And I did it, and I was like, wow.
I
Like,
legitimately only played Fallen Order out of like curiosity more than anything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great
Is
game.
that everything you wanted to say?
Give me a sequel, Disney.
Uh-huh.
Or I guess it's
They'll
not
give
Disney,
you
it's EA.
they'll give you a sequel. It sold like 8 million copies or something.
Well, I think it outsold. They were expecting 8, and I think it sold 10.
Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It sold like what a Call of Duty does every cycle or whatever. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yep.
My number 7 is Sonic Generations. It is the only Sonic game on this list.
I guess it's the only good one this decade.
Yes. Well, no.
Mania.
Sonic Mania is also a good game, but I did not like it as much as Sonic Generations. And Sonic Generations, just to put it relatively briefly, is there was another good Sonic game that came out this decade called Sonic Colors. And the reason Sonic Generations is on this list over Sonic Colors is because it cuts the chaff and just gives me a really solid 8 to 10 hour Sonic experience. And, if Sonic Team would just get their stuff together and make a game that is as consistently good as Sonic Generations is, they'd be solid. But they aren't doing that, and that's a real shame because Sonic Generations is legitimately an awesome game that everybody, especially Stage 2, is like a perfect stage in my opinion, and everybody sort of owes it to themselves to play that game. And yeah,
Okay.
that's me being sad about the state of Sonic games for a couple minutes.
Well,
We have a Sonic movie now, though.
we have a Sonic movie now that we will talk about at some point. Caleb, what is your number 7?
I should have looked at this before. Okay, yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was my... Okay, no. It has to be my first... No. It might have been my second podcast. I talked about this on my second podcast here.
I think I know what that game is.
And it's Marvel Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best Spider-Man movie. Wait.
Oh, here we go again. Great game. Honestly, I don't know what episode number it is, but definitely we do talk really in depth about how great that game is.
Probably would have been a year
It
ago.
would have been still
Right, yeah.
I think we might have still been the Catacast.
Yeah, it was definitely the Catcast.
Yeah, it would have been November because the game came out in November.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Or at least I played it in November.
It came out in
Great.
September, but I didn't play it till November.
Oh, that's
so I
right,
had
that's
to-
right.
Because you and I both waited for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Right.
I played it.
Right.
I played it launch weekend, I think,
okay.
and so I was waiting for you guys
Yeah.
to play it.
Right.
We played it Thanksgiving, so it probably would have been November, December when we talked about it.
And it was just so nice to have
Yes.
a superhero game.
A good superhero
A good
game.
Marvel superhero game.
Yeah.
I should
And-
rephrase that.
Mhm.
A good Marvel
Yes.
superhero game. And I still want to replay it. I'm waiting to do my Tobey Maguire Spider-Man playthrough.
I like in that skin.
In the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to do that soon.
Uh-huh.
Can you believe they spoilers killed Aunt May?
I forgot about that.
I was like,
That's
what are you talking about?
that's still like a thing that you're not allowed to do, and they still did it,
They
and
did
that's
it.
crazy.
I literally didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
It's granted, it's been
I
a
did,
while.
but I still was confused as to what you were saying for a second.
Okay.
Oh man. Yes. Sawyer, you're number 7.
Well, my number 7 it's from a series that I've mentioned quite a bit. This one is not a bait and switch this time. It is Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm
Not
considering
surprised.
this lumping both Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes together.
They were technically separate releases, but Ground Zeroes is more of like a tech demo for 5.
It's basically the $40 separate prologue to Phantom Pain. This game, the Fox
Good job.
engine, is absolutely beautiful.
Yes. Very pretty game.
This is what I will consider Kojima's unfinished masterpiece. This game, as amazing as it is, it story-wise, it is unfinished. It definitely seems like it's a game that Kojima didn't. He was made not because he wanted to, but because Konami said we want another Metal Gear game,
Yes.
and he was like, "Well, I don't want anybody else doing it, so I'll do it." Story is not bad, but I think it's such a jarring departure from 4 into 5 in terms of 4 being mostly cutscene, little gameplay, to all gameplay and almost no cutscene.
Yeah. Which, depending on your value judgments, is either a good or a bad thing.
I would say it gameplay wise. That's why it's only number 7 and not higher up. Great gameplay, great characters. It's a beautiful looking game, but story lacks, and technically, when you're looking at it, it's story wise, it's unfinished.
Yes. Okay. I haven't finished the game, so I can't add anything to that.
It just sort of ends. It's its whole thing.
My number 6, and I'm going to quickly clarify. I believe it's a 2010 game, but I'm gonna make sure that it's actually a 2010 game.
January 1st, 2010. That's what it came out.
December 31st.
December 31st,
2009.
This game was not the first in the series that I played, but it is, I think, probably the first in the series that I loved, and it's Tales of Xillia. And I'm a really big proponent of the Tales series. It's not my favorite gaming franchise of all time, but it is up there, and Tales of Xillia is a masterclass in sort of JRPG tradition of just great characters, great overarching story, really well put together drama, and like I think I can say, it was a 2011 game. I'm just wrong. I don't think there's anything I can really say that I want to change about that game, and it's been a while since I played it, but it deserves its number 6 spot on this list.
6. My 6th one is the first game I got into for online gaming.
Ooh.
So this is a throwback. It means a lot to me. It's campaign. Loved it.
Okay.
It's Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
Oh,
Black Ops 2 was a solid game. It really
By
was.
far, the best Call of Duty of the franchise, besides Modern Warfare 2.
Okay, I was gonna say
I wanted to
Aside
make
from
you
Modern
for a
Warfare
second.
2.
But Modern Warfare 2, I would have put on my list if it was a
2009
2009 game.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes.
first one I thought of, I was like, Modern Warfare 2. And then I was like, 2009.
For me,
Black Ops 2.
I give Black Ops 1 a slight uptick in that one in terms
Really?
of story, but in terms of gameplay, I think the second one's got it.
I think all around, Black Ops 2 is a better game. You can argue with the campaign, I would agree with that, but in terms of, I wouldn't say I agree with that. I would say it's equal, because the campaign's a lot of fun.
Oh, I think it's great.
Right.
Yeah.
But the multiplayer and the way that multiplayer system was formatted, it was by far the best multiplayer system out of any of the games.
It was really solid.
Really solid. Great. Like, I still want to go back to play that specific multiplayer every now, and I hold it up to that standard.
Yeah.
I can't, like, every time when I play a new Call of Duty, I'm holding it up to the standard. Even with Modern Warfare, this newest game, I'm like, this isn't as good as the you know.
Like, it had great modes, great maps. Like, maps that, like, anytime I play
my
Call of
God.
Duty, I'm like, this isn't Nuketown 2025. I don't want it. Like, it's just like,
Yes.
I don't know. Or like, for me, I know we're gonna move on, but my go-to was always, I can't remember what the name of it was the cruise ship.
Yep.
It was Gun Game on the cruise ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh God, Gun Game.
That was, oh man, I think I could do that
Sticks
now.
and stones with the tomahawking. Oh.
Mhm. I always Nuketown,
Great.
throw the tomahawk over the house and
Oh
see
my
if it would
gosh,
hit anything.
it's so fun. Oh,
That's evil.
I want to
That's
play.
evil. Yeah.
I don't think you're throwing it at a person in that one, are you?
In
Yeah.
Nuketown? Or
Well,
Call,
wait.
in Call of
throwing
Duty.
a tomahawk.
Yeah.
at someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are- I didn't know. I
It's
didn't
the
know. If this
objective of
was
the
a-
game.
I didn't know if this was like a mini game or something.
No.
Sticks and stones is basically
It's-
you
it's
only get
essentially
crossbows and
tomahawk.
tomahawks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and when you throw
No
a
bullets,
tomahawk,
essentially.
you get set back. So,
I literally have not realized that until now. Like this moment, that makes a lot of sense now. I
it
know
was the
that.
center for trolling, and it was so.
All right. We've.
Okay.
This is the first time we've hit the 3-minute mark.
Okay.
So let's move on to
Yeah.
Sawyer's number
We're doing
6.
so good.
I know. My just called. My number 6 is God of War 3.
Huh. Oh, that
Almost
came
put
out
it on there.
It was 2010, I believe.
Yep.
Neat.
It was the only reason I gave this one an edge over God of War 2018. I think story-wise and character-wise, 2018 is God. But God of War 3 is here, one, because it's an amazing-looking game,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and its
Oh.
sense of scale has not been matched in another game that I've played. There'll be
Yeah.
games like when you're fighting the Titan Kronos,
Hmm.
I think it was Kronos, and you go as Kratos and the camera pans out, and you're like this little tiny dot scaling this Titan, and just like it is. The action sequences against the bosses in this game
Mhm.
are amazing. Highlight being, like I said, the Kronos one and Poseidon. The Poseidon one is it's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like the beginning of the game. Like
Yeah.
and it's remastered on
Yeah,
PS4
well,
now.
It's beginning of the game is very memorable. Like if that's one of the parts of the games that I remember, it's the beginning.
Yeah. The beginning of the game is literally you fighting Poseidon and the gods as I can't remember, it was Gaia and a bunch of the other it wasn't the Titans, I don't know. Basically, people who are with Kratos are climbing Mount Olympus while you're also fighting up
Yeah.
the mountain.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah, it's a great game. The only reason that I would give God of War 2018 over this is Kratos in God of War 3 is barely a character. He's just insert for rage, whereas he's actually a character in the 2018.
Okay.
I have yet to play the 2018 version.
Worth checking
I have
out.
it.
I was gonna say it's like $20 now. Like,
Yeah, it's
check it
probably
out.
relatively cheap.
And just so you know, Ezra, in case you're interested, the 2018 one, you do not have to have played all the other like 6 games to understand the 2018
Cool.
one.
Do I need to have played any of the games?
No, you
Okay,
you can
just
there's a couple of Easter
play
eggs, but as long as you know the basic story,
okay.
you should be fine.
Just look up a synopsis on Wikipedia.
Basically, IGN's 5-minute recap. Yeah. Yes.
So my number 5. This game also holds a special place in my heart in a different way. Fire Emblem Awakening.
Okay.
That's the 3DS one, right?
That's the first 3DS
Okay.
one. And I think I've talked about the series prior to this, and Three Houses was my number 2 of 2019. But I think Fire Emblem Awakening was the first Fire Emblem game I really loved, and I love the I grew like a legitimate attachment to that cast. Every character from Chrom and Lucina to the offshoots, like I can't even remember some of their names, but I remember like their personalities so well, and just the like. Something that I always found was special about that game was the way the systems all worked together really effectively. So there was like a friendship / marriage system where you could, get these two characters to fall in love, and then they would have a child that in story it made sense why they would be able to join you in the battle. So it was a neat sort of story investment thing that also affected your gameplay experience. And that was really cool as I think I was a 14-year-old in 2012, something like that. As a 14-year-old, that was really cool. I got really attached to those characters. I'm probably going to go back to Fire Emblem Awakening relatively soon because I love that game so much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my number 5. Caleb, what is your number 5? Quietly checks the list.
Oh, he's playing it.
Oh god.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yes, yes. For the uninitiated.
So my dad knows what we're playing now.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, "What the?
What is this?
What's going on?"
The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim.
Skyrim.
The game of re-releases.
Yes.
You can play it on Amazon Echo.
Yeah.
Can you?
You can. You can play voice-enabled Skyrim on Alexa.
Okay.
Skyrim.
Skyrim.
Absolutely great game. The only problem with that game is the textures. That's it.
Well, yeah,
Right.
it's
Everything
game.
else.
Bethesda's ancient engine.
Yes.
Ancient.
Yes. The engine that Bethesda refuses to let go of.
Beautiful game otherwise. Great role playing. I think that to this day I don't think I've finished the game. Finished the stuff I have to do in that game.
Yeah.
It's a game that really isn't beaten. It's just a game
Right.
that you just
That's what I meant by
campaign, yes, but in terms of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so much to do.
Everyone has collectively done everything, but probably nobody is actually 100% of that game.
But then everything that you've done, now you're now let's do all the wrong answers
Yeah.
to that and see where this
Oh,
goes.
yeah.
So it's a lot of fun,
Yeah.
You can go so many routes. That is the best in terms of role playing, and it's
Yes.
so good.
Which says something about it being your number 5.
Yeah.
So, Sawyer, what is your...
My number 5 is
Number
a game
5.
that I played recently just over break for the first time.
It's a BioShock game.
It is not, because Bioshock Infinite came close, because that was 2013.
Gears game.
It's not Gears. It is Devil May Cry 5.
Oh!
Oh.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 5 has an amazing cast of characters that are incredibly likable. The combat is fluid, tight, and extremely fun. It runs on the Resident Evil engine, or the RE engine, whatever
Yeah.
Capcom's calling it now. And it's also just it's got the right amount of just seriousness and gritty action, while also incorporating the same amount of dumb anime nonsense that would be
the goofiest BS you've ever seen.
It's
in
got a good
video
balance
game.
between goofy anime stuff and actual
Drama.
action drama. Like I mentioned, especially the reason that you go to Devil May Cry is for the action, but you stay for the characters. The characters are great. They finally made Nero a likable character. There's other things that I won't get into for spoilers, but definitely play this series, especially if you're a fan of beat 'em up or hack and slash games.
Yeah.
This is one to try out.
Nice. So, my number 4 is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh.
And
Okay.
So I said at release, and I still hold this opinion, base Kingdom Hearts 3 is my second favorite Kingdom Hearts game. With Remind now having released, that area is a little fuzzy, but Kingdom Hearts 2, I said before release that if Kingdom Hearts 3 was half as good as Kingdom Hearts 2, then it would be a perfect game. And I think it's more than half as good as Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
I think the only really quote-unquote bad thing about that game, which is not really a bad thing, is the combat in base Kingdom Hearts 3 is not as tight and well put together as 2, nor are there as memorable bosses, which is sort of where Kingdom Hearts put... I sort of have always put the Kingdom Hearts series is the only video game series where I will put up with uber difficult bosses. And
well, the third one doesn't have Tron, so that's an immediate downside. There's no Tron.
The game that has Tron Legacy in it is my 4th favorite Kingdom Hearts game.
Yeah, surprisingly, it's low on the list for me.
Yeah,
Not because of
I like
world.
that. I like that. I like that
Tron.
game. I like the game. It's just my 4th favorite Kingdom Hearts
Yes.
game.
Just in Tron. I
I won't stand for that.
won't stand for
Yeah, I don't know. Kingdom Hearts 3 is I legitimately cried at the end of this game. I was sobbing. I was like, this is not how it should be, and yet it is, and it's perfect. So yeah, I'll shut up.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Because it's coming.
It's coming.
Caleb, what is your number 4?
Oh, is it his number? Oh, yeah, number 4. That's right.
Yes.
4, I think I know what it is. I just want to check. Yes, I know
It's
what
Death
it is.
Stranding.
Death Stranding.
A game I've never played yet.
No, my description was enough to make it like it's already enough.
This is going to be a hot take.
Okay.
Batman Arkham Knight.
Oh.
Specifically Knight.
I'm not gonna dispute with you on that. I concur.
I know City came out in like 2011 or 2012. But Knight is my favorite.
Yeah.
Which is, yes, there are repetitive tank battles. And really, if that is the complaint you have with this game, come on now.
My real only complaint is the fact that they put the Deathstroke fight in the tank battles. Like, the fact that you don't actually hand-to-hand fight Deathstroke
I
is
agree.
a mistake.
That is kind of a mistake.
But the that game is one of the only games I've actually fully 100% completed on. Love this game. I can't even tell you how many times I've played this over. It's a great story. Yes, it's predictable.
Yes.
Especially if you know a Batman story.
And, the marketing did kind of fake people out with the Arkham Knight, with who the Arkham Knight is. I know who the Arkham Knight is.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure if you have any passing knowledge of Batman lore,
you
know
start-
who the Arkham Knight is.
Well, but it was a reveal that
the marketing had told us.
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
Ahmad, do you care about spoilers for the Batman Arkham series? Spoilers. The Arkham Knight is just Jason Todd.
So it's Red Knight. It's Red Knight. Red Hood with a different name.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
Which is fine. You can do that, but don't say it's an original villain.
I mean, they did slightly tweak his motives a little bit.
Sure.
Like I still see it as a past Robin coming back to haunt Batman, but in terms of like the whole idea of I'm just gonna go out and kill gangsters now is slightly different.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
Right.
Good game. Love the suit. My favorite suit of the franchise. Yeah.
Nice.
It's such a great game.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right,
My
Sawyer.
number 4 is kind of a hot take in a game you guys might not have expected because this is not a genre I often play, but it's Injustice 2.
Oh, neat.
Oh, Injustice 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Injustice.
What do you think I said?
The first one?
I mean, I liked the first one too, but
yeah.
for me, the second one got it simply because I liked the new characters they included
Sure.
You
as
know
well.
what? I will take that back.
Okay.
I'll give you the clap
Like-
for the amount of characters and care they put into the characters.
They put a lot of care into getting DC characters and lore right.
Yes.
I thought the
I liked
story, like typically I always hear about like, fighting games don't really have good stories. This game had a really interesting story,
Yes.
and I liked. We still have yet to get a Superman movie with Brainiac, not counting animated, but.
I think personally, Injustice 1 beats out on the story just a little bit because of the novelty of like the two worlds thing.
Yeah.
Like
I think my problems with Injustice 2 is its third act is a little weird in a sense of like I can't tell if they're wanting to do a Batman v Superman thing or if they're wanting to actually tell Brainiac versus Superman story.
Yeah.
And they couldn't decide within those last few moments, and I'm like, that's where I'm.
Which is why the third act feels like a different game entirely. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the campaign overall. I enjoyed all the characters they included. I also thought it was neat to include non-DC characters like Hellboy and the Ninja Turtles. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes.
I kind of still wanted Spawn, but we're getting him in Mortal Kombat, so. Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Great game.
Is that all you wanted to say about?
Mostly. Give me an Injustice 3. I'm sure we'll get it.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
MK11 came out this year.
Yeah.
Last year.
2021.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Makes sense.
We'll get an announcement at E3. Actually, no.
Next E3. So not this E3.
Next
following.
E3.
No, I think we'll get an announcement this year.
No.
I think it's possible because it could
more MK characters at this E3, and then
it's going to be a
They're on
next
a
gen game
2-year
though.
cycle.
We might get it in the next gen reveal.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know. This
Well, no.
E3 is going to be
We'll
weird
figure it
anyways.
out. This E3, no Sony,
No
no
Sony
Nintendo,
again.
Yeah.
That's
No
big
Jeff
news.
Keighley.
No
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley, bro.
That's weird. All right. Let's keep going.
That's a whole other.
That's a
side
whole-
It's a whole other
conversation.
thing. My number 3 is Tales of Berseria. So this is the second time. What are you laughing at?
He's still having
Do
a
you
Jeff
remember the
Keighley.
group chat?
Oh yes, yes. Sawyer, for reference,
I can't read.
Sawyer almost thought that Jeff Keighley
Okay.
had actually died.
I read a headline from Inside Gaming that said, E3 loses Jeff Keighley, is it dead? And I thought the headline was, E3's Jeff Keighley dead. And I was like, wait, what? What? Oh no. And I, like, almost dropped my phone reading that. I was like, no. I was freaking out.
So that's why Caleb is losing his mind over here. E3.
Just imagine the reaction.
E3 is kind of in its death throes, though.
Pretty
let's
much.
be honest.
Now that it's an influencer festival.
be,
Anyway.
it'll be a different thing.
Tales of Berseria.
Tales of Berseria. Another game. I wasn't quite as tearful at the end of this game, but it really got me to feel something.
It really makes you feel like Tales of Berseria.
I forgot to do that with the Spider-Man game. To be honest.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of the best traditional JRPGs I've played in years. I finished it last year, I think, and you know that genre is special to me. It's something I've cared about for a very long time, and you know the Tales series has been with me since basically I discovered the genre, and I think I'm really excited for the next entry. Should be coming out this year, and Tales of Berseria. You know, I praised Fire Emblem Awakening and Tales of Xillia's casts. This cast is spotless. I don't think there's a single character I would change anything about in the entirety of that game. And the way that it's a prequel to the Tales game that came out before it, and the way that it ties itself into that is really effective and really sort of makes that game's ending and characters feel more significant as well. So it's an excellent game. Absolutely deserves its number 3 spot. So, Caleb, what is your number 3?
3 is just a brief check. Yes. Okay.
Is it
The
Kingdom
Last
Hearts
of
3?
Us.
Oh, The Last of Us.
Doesn't
Yes.
surprise me. It's a
The
great
Last
game.
of Us is a great game.
The dying breath of 2013, basically.
The dying breath of the PS3.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yes.
interesting because I didn't play it when its initial release. I played it like 3 or 4 years later.
Did you play the remaster? or-
Yeah, I played the
Yeah.
remastered version, and this was during a time when I was zombied out of games. I
Yeah.
will tell you that I was so zombied out.
Games have been doing zombies for a very long time
Oh,
by
yeah.
that point.
And then we had World War Z already, and it was just like the whole zombie genre. I was done.
And what? 11 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I was done, and you know. So The Last of Us, I only played because of my love of the Uncharted game. So I'm like, I'll play it, you know, just for the sake of Naughty Dog, and they really delivered on a great
Mhm.
game.
Yeah.
We talk about opening moments in a game like that.
Yeah.
Way to bring you to tears without even
That's
knowing the
A
characters.
heck of an opening.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really many video games that can
Yeah.
open like that are just like willing to just basically say, yeah, we're doing this. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, it's.
So I'm excited for 2 in a couple months.
Yeah, I hope it's good. I honestly I liked The Last of Us, but I mean it's a game that I really enjoyed.
Mhm.
That's what I'll say.
Sawyer, what is your number 3?
My number
Is it
3.
The Last of Us?
No, it's not The Last of Us. Last of Us actually didn't make my list. It's on my.
That's impressive.
It's on my. What was it? Mentionable.
Considerably
Considerably mentionable. Yeah, I think my number 3 is it's tie. It's a tie for third place
Ooh.
Okay.
between Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Knight.
Oh, okay.
He was too afraid.
I couldn't choose. Okay, I think I think City has a better story because I like the dynamic between Joker
Give in
and
to
Batman.
darkness.
Darkness. Okay. City has a better story, I think, and has, I mean, obviously great gameplay and everything. But I like Night. Night, like you said, is one of the only games that I've ever come close. I believe I 100%ed the game. I didn't 100% the trophies because I didn't do all of the the challenge rooms. I didn't bother with that. But in terms of like actual gameplay stuff, beat the campaign, got all the Riddler trophies, did all of the DLC campaign story stuff. Great game, really makes you feel like Batman. I had to.
It did. Well, honestly,
it honestly does.
Did, and you know.
And I think even though it's not very subtle with the fact that it's Jason Todd, I think they did a great job of telling that story. It's a great Batman suit, and I like the fact that the whole Batman cast of characters is there. You get Nightwing, you get Tim Drake's Robin, you get
the
Batgirl, you get Jim Gordon, Jim Gordon. It's a great game.
Nice.
Yeah, play it, and also people don't always realize this, but the Season of Infamy DLC pack worth picking up.
Okay.
If you get up any of the DLCs for this game, get that one. It adds in basically, like I hear what they called them, but like each villain had their own like sub storyline side missions. It basically adds like 5 more for 5 different villains.
Wasn't one of them Harley Quinn, if I'm not mistaken?
I think they had a separate thing for her entirely,
okay.
but one was. I know one was Mr. Freeze. That's all I remember. Is I know one was Mr. Freeze.
Nice.
I didn't play all of them, unfortunately.
You should do that.
I was cheap.
Oh.
But I will play it eventually. I've always said that when I get back to it, I get back to it.
Yeah.
So.
No, the whole trilogy was free on Epic Game Store like 2 months ago.
Yeah. The whole franchise is really cheap to get. I know I got it for my friend for the holidays 2 years ago, and basically I got all 4 games for $30. So.
And it didn't. Yeah, speaking of the 4 games, even though we're saying trilogy, even though it didn't make my list, Arkham Origins is not a bad game either. It's worth playing. The only thing I haven't played the Cold Heart DLC yet, but
no, I didn't play that.
Mr. Freeze. Is that Mr. Freeze?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my number 2, we're getting down to top 2s of the 2010s. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
I knew that was going to be on here somewhere.
And
I have a feeling I know what number 1 is, though.
I know.
I have a pretty obvious number 1. And I don't know, Breath of the Wild, perfect is the only thing I can ever think about that game. I'm not often, like, if you look at the kinds of games that I play, open world is not typically the genre I go for, but Breath of the Wild will suck you in and keep you there for hours upon hours, and I think it says enough about how much I like this game that I played it once on the Wii U, and then I played through it 2 times again on the Switch.
I mean,
which
if you were willing to play
which is
it
an
on,
ask.
If you're willing to play it on the Wii U, we know it was worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the Wii.
I mean, I do too.
Let's not go into the Wii U.
I had to make the joke, but I actually do like the Wii U.
Yes.
But I actually do like the Wii.
No, good joke. It was a good joke.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
I like it.
The Zelda team. I'm gonna just keep talking. The Zelda team, was on a decline. People weren't liking Skyward Sword as much. They didn't like Twilight Princess as much. I love Twilight Princess. I haven't played through Skyward Sword enough to say whether or not I enjoy it. But like Breath of the Wild was just like an excellent sort of reshaping of The Legend of Zelda as a franchise in terms of story, gameplay, mechanics, just all of it. Perfect. Couldn't recommend that game enough. Caleb, what is your number 2?
So I'll try to be quicker. Uncharted 3.
Huh.
Uncharted 3.
And not 4.
Is not 4, no. That's mostly because
Sawyer, is your number 2 Uncharted
My number
3
2
too?
is also Uncharted 3. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can both talk about this one.
I saw the look on
Yes.
I saw the look on your face, and I was like, "It's absolutely Uncharted 3."
I think. I mean, you start. You got. Yeah.
So when Uncharted 3 came out, I had just played 1 and 2.
Okay, you were like hot off the heels of 1 and 2.
I was really off the heels. Like I got done with that game, and it was pretty much Uncharted 3 at that point. The game. Oh god, we're talking about graphics for that. From when that game was released, I was like, this is cinematic.
I would
This is
argue
great.
it's probably the best looking game on the PS3.
I would agree, without a doubt. Over Last of Us, which
Yeah,
is
I would say the same.
the Uncharted. Oh god, Uncharted 3 was such a great game, and I've played it over and over and over again. I can't even tell you how many times I've played Uncharted.
Uncharted, it's got great characters. It's got great, and like I can't really say cinematography, but like
Well, yeah.
in terms of like
Yeah,
the
the
look,
visuals.
the
the
visuals,
cinematic element.
the cinematic element is amazing. The sequence I always come back to is when Nathan Drake is like falling out of a cargo plane, and he's basically crawling up the cargo back into the plane on this like net.
Wow.
While you're also like shooting bad guys down out of the plane. Like it's over the top ridiculous, but it's just a
so
really
much
it's a
fun.
playable action movie.
Yeah.
It's Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, National Treasure, that type of just adventure fun. The whole trilogy really, honestly, I mean, the first 2 weren't 2010s, but
Right.
it was close between 3 and 4. I just gave 3 the slight edge over 4, mainly because I think the set pieces were better, and I do think 4 is a good wrap on Nathan Drake's story.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. When I played 4, I teared up a little.
I
at the
came
end.
close. But,
yeah. Is that all both of you wanted to say about Uncharted 3?
if you own a PS4 or PS3, I mean PS4 they have the entire trilogy remastered as well as the 4th one being on it. There is no reason why you shouldn't have Uncharted, and I believe
Unless you're an Xbox.
unless you're an Xbox person, and I believe in January it was free on PlayStation
Yes.
Plus. So
Yep.
what are you doing? Like,
Well, the trilogy was
the trilogy
free.
was free. 4 wasn't,
4.
but the 4th one is like $20 on the PS Store now.
Yeah,
like
it's cheap.
yeah, it's cheap.
Yeah. So my number 1. Can you guess it? It was Nier Automata.
I was surprised that Smash wasn't on your list.
Don't talk to me about Smash Brothers right now.
Oh, okay.
He's salty about
He's
that.
salty.
He's salty
I'm
about
salty about something.
Do you want to
No.
talk
Do you need a
about
little bit of therapy here?
No.
Come on.
No. I just have some issues with that game on a competitive level. But Nier Automata. I played the demo of that game. That was how I I saw that it had a demo, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. Maybe I'll like it, because I'd heard amazing things about it. And I played the demo, and the way that the demo ends made me say out loud, oh man, I love video games. And I think that that's really like why I love Nier Automata so much. Aside from the excellent delivery of the narrative, and Nier Automata pushing the boundary of video games as an art medium, and not just being a good game, but being a game that pushes the boundary of what a video game can be. Not just all of that, even though every aspect of that game, except for the fact that it is horribly broken if you look in the right places. But that's kind of a good thing if you're like me. Not just that, it reminded me of why I love video games. And that I don't think any of these other games quite did that as much as Nier Automata did. I like video games because of games like Kingdom Hearts, like Tales, like Zelda, but none of those games reminded me why I like video games. And Nier Automata did, continues to do that. I'm going to go back to it at some point in the next 2 weeks because I need to play that game again. And which isn't to say I haven't played that game enough. Yeah, I recommend it to everybody even if they don't know how to play a video game. I got my mom the novelization of that game, and apparently the novelization is bad. But yeah, yeah, I'll shut up. That game makes me tear up every time I think about it.
Yeah.
So no secret. I'll make it quick.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Because we're talking about this a lot tonight.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely my favorite game of the decade. Right at the end there. And this is with Remind aside.
Which is kind of incredible given the anticipation this game had.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But also, I didn't watch the trailers.
Oh, that's right. You didn't.
I didn't watch the trailers.
That's
So I went in completely blind. So this whole Roxas moment, I'm like dying of I'm so much in tears. This game impacted me on a whole emotional level.
Imagine when I get into the series eventually, and all I know is from what you guys have said.
Exactly.
So I like no trailers or anything.
Yes.
So I'm just going in not knowing a clue.
The third game is going to be a bonkers ride for you when you get there.
It's such a closing chapter of this. It's a well done closing chapter of this entire saga.
Yes.
And as somebody who's played the series for, since its
Inception
release,
yes,
I couldn't have asked for anything better. And
yeah, I don't know how I would change base Kingdom Hearts 3 at all. Yeah.
Well,
except we now know how we would have changed it. Yes.
My number one.
It's not a Metal Gear game.
Death Stranding. No, okay, it's not Death Stranding. No, Death Stranding didn't make my list. It was
throws my list out of my hand and walks.
that was on my mentionably
considerably mentionable.
Yeah.
That's how.
My number one is Marvel Spider-Man.
Oh, nice!
Oh,
Congratulations, Marvel Spider-Man.
This game was incredibly fun. It was a game that literally I could not put down.
Yeah.
It was the game that I would just look at the clock and be like, "What? It's what time?" It's just this game, it understands who Spider-Man is as a character. It's got an amazing story that I need to go back to again because it's I'm a little rusty on a couple of the details.
I still haven't played the DLCs yet.
The DLCs were good too. The story's not as good or as solid as the main campaign, but it's a good lead-in or prologue to Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like a good setup for Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Especially Black Cat. She's great.
Yes.
Perfect
Black Cat.
Oh yeah, they really understand who that character is too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this game at length before. We have an entire 2-hour special about this game. But great game. Looking forward to the sequel. My favorite game of the 2010s, though every game that I've mentioned could just as easily have been in this spot.
My top two is very malleable.
The only thing that would have made Spider-Man better is if you could change the skin to make him Cyborg Raiden. That would have been the only thing.
Cyborg.
If I could play as Raiden.
Now I'm really going to leave.
Sora's all-time favorite game.
Basically it.
So, we can move on to TV or movies.
Which one do you want?
Ahmad gets
now Ahmad's
in
in on the fray.
No, I want
gets
to go.
to-
I want to do movies.
You want to
Okay.
do movies?
I'm tired
let's
of
do movies.
I'm tired
Let's,
of sitting around.
Ahmad, I know you
Yeah,
have
we'll
to
have to get into
leave
it.
in about 45 minutes,
Yeah,
so let's
roughly.
try to.
So,
I'll be quicker.
We'll try. Let's try to be just a little quicker. We don't have to be a lot quicker, just a little quicker. So Ahmad, do you have any honorable mentions?
Of course, my laptop just doesn't work anymore.
I feel that.
It's just
That's a nightmare.
Just move around.
Okay, all right. I'll start.
As soon as it works, let us know.
Yeah, I'll start with honorable mentions. So my honorable mentions are Days of Future Past, X-Men Days of Future Past,
Great honorable mention.
Kung Fu Panda 3,
All right.
Frozen 2, Captain America Civil War,
Okay.
Detective Pikachu,
Okay.
Fruitvale Station,
Okay.
Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home, X-Men First Class, Black Panther, and Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Okay. Caleb?
Civil War. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Booksmart. Baby Driver.
Oh, I should have put Baby Driver on my honorable mentions.
The Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
The The Creed and Tron Legacy.
Okay.
I have to throw in Tron.
So my honorable mentions would be basically any MCU film that didn't make the cut.
Any MCU film that didn't make the Sawyer, that's more than 10 movies.
Okay. That's my honorable mention. Okay.
Oh no! Wait until you get to my list. I didn't do games, but I'll compensate for that.
Oh, okay. X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Justice League: Flashpoint Paradox.
Oh,
The animated
yeah.
film.
Good.
That's a great. That's also a great honorable mention.
Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. The deluxe
yes.
animated film.
The TDKR.
The first TDKR.
The original TDKR before it was cool.
Avengers: Infinity War, specifically outside of the MCU that doesn't get mentioned.
Really?
Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse.
Interesting.
And Rogue One.
I want to say considerably mentionable for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And then I will say I am genuinely surprised that Rogue One is honorable mention and not in the top 10. But
it was hard for me.
Yeah. And I was thinking, I'm going ahead and drop a bombshell here before I even read off my list.
No Star Wars movies.
There are no Star Wars movies in my top 10.
There aren't Star Wars movies in my top 10.
There are one.
There's one. It's probably Force Awakens. No. It's just gonna take a hot guess and say it's Rogue One. All right. So Ahmad, how are you doing?
Still
booting
okay.
up?
So I'm going to run us down our top 10s, and then if you're
So essentially, okay. So I guess I should explain it. I didn't do it exactly how you all did it. What I did was I thought back, used the old brain.
You accessed the database.
I hacked into my own mind. And I thought back to each individual year and the movie that impacted me that year. So I'm not. So it's film. You know, I'm not gonna. It's gonna be unaffected by like the film knowledge that I know now, or like the movies. So it might be embarrassing.
So like,
but
when it caught you in 2012.
The film that captured my attention, or the group of films rather, because
I could have. I should have done.
Because I just felt like I mean, like there are. It's a mix of like, especially later on when you start to see the snobbiness come into play, but
when he chooses Rise of Skywalker over Uncut Gems,
then he's film production. But okay, I just have to connect to the internet. You could go around.
Okay, all right. We'll do our 10.
But essentially, what I'll do is I'm going to go through each year. So 2010, I'll talk about the films.
Okay.
And then that'll be like leading up to 2010.
So that'll be your number 10, just a different consideration. So my number 10. Wait, why is Detective Pikachu? Oh, that's right. I meant to swap out Fruitvale Station and Detective Pikachu, and I just did not swap out Fruitvale Station apparently.
So vastly different films.
Detective Pikachu is my number 10.
Okay.
And
good movie.
Good movie.
I haven't seen Fruitvale Station. So.
Fruitvale Station.
It's the only Michael B. Jordan movie I haven't seen.
Fruitvale Station is a special movie. Detective Pikachu is what I hope, given the Sonic movie, continues to be a trend of decent video game movies that try to be more than just a cash cow. But
when we get that Jordan Vogt Roberts Metal Gear Solid movie, crossing my fingers for that. That's
Oscar Isaac.
That's my one per episode. Here we go.
Here we go. I don't really have anything more to say about Detective Pikachu than I've already said.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises almost made my honorable mentions.
That was
close.
First movie I saw twice.
In theaters?
Yes, but within 24 hours.
Man, okay.
I loved that film. But granted, though, because I was young for the first two Batman films, the Dark Knight films, I had to watch them on video. So this was the first time I got to see The Dark Knight on the big screen and seeing Nolan's full vision come to life. So
that sounds
Dark Knight
cool.
Rises holds a very special place in my heart.
I saw Dark Knight Rises in theaters before having seen Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. Because I wasn't allowed to see the first two, and then we finally just went to see the third one in theaters. So when they had spoilers, when they have that the Liam Neeson ghost memory thing, it was like,
yeah,
I had no idea what was going on.
I had seen it, but I just I had seen them, and I loved.
I hadn't seen them, so great film, great sense of scale. Tom Hardy's great. Everybody's great. Everybody's great. Nothing.
It's a good. I like that movie a lot. Yeah. Sawyer, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is kind of a curveball. Resident Evil Vendetta.
Wait,
it is not one of the live action ones.
Oh, okay. It's one of those animated.
It's one of the CG animated ones. It is the third one that came out in 2017.
Okay.
It is a surprisingly incredibly enjoyable film.
Okay.
It's what made it so enjoyable was mainly the fact that it's canon with the games and has Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield teaming up to take on zombies,
giant monsters,
and eco-terrorists and bio-terrorists or whatever. It's dumb and stupid, and I loved every minute of it. Also, the animation is great, and it finally is, I think, out of all of Resident Evil, save for probably Resident Evil Revelations or Resident Evil 5, is the perfect balance between horror and scares.
Okay.
No, that's the same thing. Between scares and action, I should say.
Okay, horror and action.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, Ahmad, are you in business?
I am in business. I'm in business. 2010. 2010 was a very significant year. My honorable mentions are kind of mixed up, mixed in.
Okay.
So, 2010, the film that affected me the most that year, Tron Legacy.
Tron
Legacy made it onto the list.
Tron Legacy supporters in this podcast.
This is the Tron Legacy supporting podcast.
Whatever
we are the pro Tron Legacy cast
all of the,
from here on.
You could be you could say whatever you want to say about Tron Legacy, but when I first saw Tron, it changed my idea of what movies could be, and that film, after seeing that film, that was the one of the first films, actually, to really get me intrigued in the behind the scenes aspect of filmmaking. I remember me and my brothers, we cut out paper discs and we had our own little Tron battles. It was we dreamed about
the grid,
the grid life cycle. So it was the grid was even when you saying the grid, I could imagine Jeff Bridges' voice. The grid. It was the synth music hits, and it's so awesome, and the entire world of the grid. Just a movie that accesses your imagination. And 7th grade me really loved that.
I'm not gonna lie. Well, that movie was so close to getting 10.
Yeah.
It was so close. Yeah.
I was 10 years old when that movie came out.
Yeah. I thought the visual effects were so stunning.
I thought so too.
And I mean, of course, at this point, they might seem like they're aged.
I still think
they are. Yeah,
the only one I think that doesn't age well is the young Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Really, everything else looks fine.
Looks really good and sleek, and it was clean, and just the music hit, and
that has got to be one of the best movie soundtracks or scores ever.
Yeah.
I love
Daft Punk is
Yoko.
Kingdom Hearts composer.
Butcher the name. The Kingdom Hearts composer. I love it.
Yeah.
But
you gotta get.
When I got the Tron world, I blasted that. No regret.
Yes.
All right, then honorable mentions. Toy Story 3. Got to give Toy Story 3 some love.
Yes.
And then the King's Speech also that year was another.
Great one. That was another honorable mention of mine.
All right. Nice. So my number 9 was a movie that came out a few years ago, and it's Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel 1. I believe Presage Flowers, the subtitle of that movie. And this is not the first Fate Stay Night Fate / thing on this list, but what I liked about this movie specifically was it got me into this character's head, and as somebody who really loved the Fate Stay Night show that UFO Table made, it was really nice to see a different sort of side of that story, and a different it's the third route of the visual novel that came out back in 2006 or something like that, and it goes in some really interesting directions. You absolutely can't watch it without having watched the other two shows that came out before it. But if you have, and you have some of that context, it's really effective, and I can't wait to watch. The sequel came out last year. I haven't watched it yet, and the final film in the trilogy is coming out this year, and I'm really excited to see the conclusion. So, yes. Caleb, what is your number 9?
Sorry. 1 second. Yeah. So we already talked about it. Well, not that we already talked about it. Rogue One.
Oh, yeah.
Rogue One. Visual masterpiece.
It's a good looking film.
It is.
My brother actually hates this movie. And
It is
I will fight to the passion.
It
of
is
this
a movie that,
It's-
like, people who love it and people who can hate it, I can fully understand each argument for
Yes.
whether you love it or
I
you
think
hate it.
I think there's a reasonable discussion there that is not the same. It's polarizing, but it's not the same kind of polarizing that Last Jedi was.
It's visually stunning. It's so good. The plot is really well done.
This was right after Force Awakens, right?
The year
Yeah.
after.
Right,
Yeah.
the year after. So one of the better looking Star Wars movies that
My man, Senator Bail Organa,
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually made it into that movie.
Lord Vader himself.
Lord Vader
Which is
himself.
still an awesome sequence. I was like, as soon as they kind of panned out and like you see the planet and like I was like, oh, we're over, we're done.
Yeah,
and like they kind of
yeah.
goes, and then it just reels you back in. And
It's the best looking Star Wars
Yeah.
film.
When I heard, when I saw that holding back and I heard the breathing, I lost it in the theater. I was like, I knew it was happening.
That's why I want to watch the Fallen Order, the cut sequence at
Yes.
the end.
Yeah. As sad as it is to say, that's probably, in terms of Star Wars movies, the last moment I saw in the theater of Star Wars where I was like, just cheering as a fan. That was the last time.
That's unfortunate because there are 3 other
I think
movies.
so.
There were 3 other ones after it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the same for
I
me too.
okay, I'm just not gonna comment. Do you have anything
That's
else to
it.
say?
Nope.
Okay, Sawyer, what's your number 9?
It's a little film called Tron Legacy.
I guess we're
Here we go.
I'll talk more about this.
I mean,
I'll spoil it now. Tron Legacy is unfortunately not on my list. we can't go 3 for 3.
It's not on mine either.
Oh,
but,
okay.
we're gonna go around and everyone's gonna have it. This film, it's a childhood favorite of mine. I still love it. The soundtrack's great, visuals are great, all the characters are interesting. Just such a fun film. I also just love how, like, everybody knows the movie they're in and plays to it.
Yes.
Like, my perfect example of that is Michael Sheen in, like, this, like, tech bar where he's playing, the guy's name Zeus or whatever, where he's just, like, guitar strumming his cane or whatever. Like, it's stupid, but I love it. I love it. It's great.
He's like blasting like I don't know what it was, but like it was just
And then Jeff Bridges has his superhero entrance in Land.
that was awesome. That's the thing with, like, as a kid, you're just like, that's awesome. When it like goes down and like the
Touches
music
the floor
stops.
and all.
It's like, as a kid, like you're just like, oh my.
No, this.
Yeah, no.
That
I mean,
and
I
the-
still,
It was
It's
a
a great
wild
movie.
ride
Yeah.
for our
I
age.
still, I mean, I don't know. I might be overhyping it. I don't know, but like when I first,
You might be overhyping it just a tad.
No, I
Just
don't
a tad.
think so.
Just a
Right.
tad.
Where is Tron 3, Disney? Where is Tron 3?
Seriously, like I don't like. I'm glad you guys share the same effect because like same affection because I when I saw it like I mean. Like they sort of snippet of the trailer of it in class, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the circumstance was, but I remember like it was like a very kind of everybody else really got into it and thought it was like the visuals were nice and stuff. But like other than like I haven't really ever since then nobody's really talked about it. I still my love for it's persisted.
And we need to take a Lab Rats field trip next year to Disney when they open the Star Wars.
Whoa,
There's a Tron roller coaster opening in
no.
2021 in Disney.
That's
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion that is very attractive but very expensive.
The Tron Light
Even
Cycle
multiple
Power Run
Wow.
opening in Tomorrowland in 2021.
To do that, we will have to start monetizing episodes.
Please,
we'll
just
Start it to the Patreon.
Start a GoFundMe.
GoFundMe.
All right,
Send us to Disney.
we're almost at the 3-minute mark on
Okay.
Sawyer's run on Tron.
My
Legacy.
run on Tron.
So
Yeah.
let's Ahmad, let's get your.
20
I guess this is 2011,
Yeah,
right?
2011.
Green
Tron
Lantern.
Legacy.
Okay.
No.
Tron Legacy for all of the
Yeah.
years.
No.
It's the only film he's watched. It's the only one. He just watches it on loop.
It was. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah.
Turns
But,
out you were just BSing us
I
on
was
all
just,
of the
Tron
movies
Legacy,
you've
Tron
seen.
Legacy. No. Kung Fu Panda 2. Now keep in mind.
Never seen it.
This is a film. Kung Fu Panda 2 is a.
That's a curveball.
I know it's a curveball because this isn't Parasite,
Yes,
White House,
it's-
Ahmad.
yes,
This is Justice. This is Young Justice.
Well, this is like
Kung Fu
13-year-old
Panda,
Ahmad.
Yes.
13-year-old Ahmad who was really entertained by Jack Black saying skadoosh really slowly.
Skadoosh.
Like that was a really awesome.
Oh, I
moment.
remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Kung Fu Panda 2. Not what you'd expect, but
It's a great movie.
It's a good movie. All three of those films, animated films, are really nice. Really well animated. And Kung Fu Panda 2 is actually one of that I've seen the most. There was these like weird moments or weird phases where all I saw was like all I had access to was like a couple DVDs.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Panda 2 happened to be one of them, and I just had it on reruns.
That was
The Dark Knight Rises also happened to be another one, which I'll get to. But the second movie, Drive, Ryan Gosling. That film.
Oh, yeah.
That film also. That's more of your like film
Yeah.
person
Yes.
pick, but
Your modern Ahmad pick. Yeah.
modern Ahmad pick, but the Ryan Gosling does a really good job. Up until then, it was just like people would like not make fun of him, but it was like the Notebook Ryan Gosling. He was just the pretty boy. It wasn't capable of fulfilling a role that was like this, and
Right.
it was awesome. The music in this as well was really it was really nice, and yeah.
Oh, I'll say that actor might pop up again at some point.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I would have
May or may not.
may or may not pop up again.
I could guess. What
I think we'll get there.
Hazard a guess. My number 8. It's this little movie I won't talk about it very much. It's this little movie called Knives Out.
Okay.
Oh.
Very good whodunit.
Yeah.
Don't have much to say that I haven't already said 2 episodes ago, so go check that out.
Mhm.
Caleb, what's your number 8?
Inside Out.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Great movie.
That is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay.
Is that also your number 8?
No, it actually.
So you gave that same look.
It's probably the most disappointing Pixar movie.
Whoa!
What?
You just I like how you built them up like
Sowing the
Run
seeds
it
of
back
chaos.
You
We have some genuine conflict on the Lab Rats Entertainment
We
podcast
actually thought that was on your list. And I
No,
was just like,
no, I had to
Really?
think, yeah, for me, I don't want to take up too much time, but I was so excited to see that because I thought the concept was so interesting. Saw it, and I was just like, eh. It also was not a good theater experience either because towards the very last third of the movie, we saw during a thunderstorm, power went out, and they had to play part of it again. Like, it was not a good experience, and the movie overall wasn't what I wanted it to be. So, it's not bad, but I also I was like...
you just broke Caleb.
This was the film that got me back into animated films.
I
love this story. It's such a good story, and I remember going to see it in the theaters, and obviously it was a theater full of children, and I don't think this is a movie necessarily for children.
No.
I think it was more towards probably my age.
Yeah,
when
I'd
I
say
had
it's-
seen it, it was more towards
Yeah.
that age,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is such a great visual.
You would have been 14, 15 or something?
Yeah,
like that
somewhere
when the
like
movie came
that.
out?
Probably
Yeah.
16.
I will say, even though it's, wasn't my favorite, Pixar, I don't want to say, it's bad at all. It's not bad. I think there's really very, very, very few bad Pixar movies. And I think Pixar manages, in this film especially, to understand its audience, and they don't have to cater to an age group.
No.
Yes.
They understand it, it's not going to be just the kids watching, it's also the parents.
Yeah.
All right. Sawyer, what is your number 8?
The Martian.
Oh. That one
I
almost made both lists.
I enjoyed this film quite a bit. I think the characters I liked its adherence to try to be as scientifically accurate as possible.
Yes.
I thought the humor was great, and I just liked it was just generally fun. Like,
Yeah.
them trying to problem solve. How are we... Okay, so he's got this amount of water. How are we going to get to stretch this amount of days? How's he going to keep growing food?
Yeah.
Just, like, all the different problem solving and
Yeah.
just him saying, I'm up here.
Yeah,
Just-
they made some stuff that would feel monotonous in any other movie feel fun, and that was
That, and
Yeah.
also, like, their way of explaining these big, difficult to understand concepts down to just a 2-hour movie.
yeah.
Like, how
that's
do we
good.
explain that they'd have to rendezvous to refuel and then use Earth's gravity to launch back to
Yeah.
Mars? Like,
No,
they
I-
make it so much easy to understand.
I remember watching this movie. I
Random
I remember watching this movie in science class actually, and one of the things this movie I watched, I mean, Interstellar
Yeah.
came right before this, and for some reason I thought that it was set in the same universe. Matt Damon and that movie
Same
was
Matt
the same
Damon.
Matt Damon in this movie. But I watched the
is
movie
funny,
and I
though.
realized that it wasn't that wasn't the case. But it was, I did love how scientifically accurate it was, and it was,
Yeah.
it was entertaining.
Well, it would make sense because he's stranded.
Stranded,
in
yeah,
Interstellar, so.
That's kind of what I thought, and I was like, is it-
Thematically consistent.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Ahmad, what's your number 8?
so number 8 would be
2012.
2012. So Django Unchained.
Oh, is it Django Unchained?
Yeah, Django Unchained. Well, this is gonna be multiple ones. Django Unchained. It's
Dark
because
Knight Rises, right?
The Dark Knight Rises, of course.
I knew the Dark Knight
Um,
Rises was on the 2012
Avengers, of
list.
course.
Of course,
Another
Avengers.
Avengers that year blew my mind, and then
The
Silver
Amazing
Lining-
Spider-Man.
Oh, I mean, well, that wasn't bad. Yeah,
It's not bad.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
But it wasn't.
It's a considerably.
But,
Let's-
but it
let's-
wasn't. It wasn't Toby. It wasn't Toby asking for doing. Oh, sorry, doing his dance moves. But and then several Silver Linings Playbook was also another. Yeah. So
Nice.
yep. That's all I gotta say.
Cool.
Okay. My number 7 is Kung Fu Panda 2.
Ooh.
There we go.
That
There we go.
was a late high five.
That's a
That
weak
was-
high five.
There you
There
go.
we
There
go.
we go.
Nobody saw that on the.
Great movie. I think Ahmad basically said everything that I would say about it. Skadoosh.
Skadoosh
Yeah, perfect Kung Fu Panda movie. None of the other Kung Fu Panda movies surpass it. Caleb, what is your number 7?
Toy Story 3. Now I know I talked about
4.
Inside Out becoming
yeah.
the movie that got me back into animation. But it was Toy Story. I would say Toy Story 3 was the last good, last amazing
for a period of
animation
time,
film
yeah.
for me for a good 5 years. This
Yeah.
movie really impacts me. It was such a great ending to the series. And we've talked about how 4 I consider more as an epilogue to
Yeah,
that.
me too.
And yeah, it's such a good movie. I will be brought to tears every time I watch it. There's nothing that can change me from that. So,
I agree with that. I honestly think, for most, with the exception of the first one, 2, 3, and 4 have emotional moments that, even as an adult, will still make you cry.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 3, or I haven't seen 4 rather.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 4 yet.
The ending of 4 caught me off guard. It's on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of watch it though.
All right, Sawyer, what's
Why not?
your number 7?
Yeah, this one might surprise a lot of people. It's a film that I constantly have to defend due to whatever reasons. But Prometheus.
Oh no! I actually
Okay.
Prometheus is a film that I actually I liked a lot when it came out.
I think it's visually stunning. I think the cast is great. I think its questions that it raises are really interesting. I like that it doesn't spell everything out for you. I also like that even though it's in the same universe as Alien, with the exception of the protomorph at the end, it's not it's not like a
Yeah.
I'm not trashing on the prequels, but like a Star Wars prequel, it's like, here's this thing you know, here's this thing you know. It's just we're in the same world, but we don't have to set everything up other than the space jockey component of it. The only thing that makes it slightly disappointing is where they went to it in the sequel, but I'm not going to fault this movie for Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
Okay.
great film, great cinematography, Idris Elba for the win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ahmad, what is your
2013.
2013 movie?
Iron Man 3 is up there. I really loved the movie when it first came out. I loved the opening sequence with them using Blue WD. That was a good
Oh,
song. But I just love.
We all immediately knew what you meant.
But no, and then I just love the exploration of the character. Never mind. I'm not gonna do it. But I love. This might be. It's hard because it's either second for me or even first. But I do love the first Iron Man though. But this film, I love the exploration of the character, and it's a little deeper than.
Especially seeing him dealing with the aftermath of Avengers.
Right.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was, and then Pacific Rim, Fruitvale Station, and then Gatsby.
No, yeah.
Oh yeah, Great Gatsby.
Yeah, Gatsby's a good. At the time, I mean, of course, now everyone bashes it, but at the time, I remember being very. I liked it a lot.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I think most of the backlash mainly came from the soundtrack.
Yeah,
but-
the soundtrack.
Yeah. That's
All
my
right.
kind of
Yeah.
critique on that film.
Right. Yeah.
That's fair. My number 6 is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh.
Great film.
It's a great movie. Cast is great. Caesar's great. Andy
CG is
Serkis is
great.
perfect.
Yeah.
CG's great.
The visual effects. You got.
VFX are excellent.
And cinematography too.
Cinematography's great. The story is great.
And it only got better from there.
Yeah. Well, I
Wait a second.
No,
I only got better from there.
War is a great movie. I just don't think it's as good as Dawn.
It's,
That's
it's
all I'm
Rise,
saying.
Rise, Dawn, War is the order.
Oh,
I know some
oh,
people
oh.
get confused and think Rise is second.
yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
So Rise
I thought you
is
were
the
referring to
first.
Rise.
Okay.
But I mean,
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes
But I
is
do
the
think-
second
I-
movie in the trilogy, and it's the best one.
I
I think War again. I think War is a great movie,
think
but it is
Okay.
second to Dawn.
I would agree with you. I would agree. I mean, I'd agree.
Anyways, Caleb, what's your number 6?
Interstellar. We've already talked about it,
Yeah.
but I will say, Interstellar,
Yeah.
the first Christopher Nolan film I've experienced besides the Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh, okay.
It was in that moment when I knew I loved Christopher Nolan.
As a director,
Yeah.
I love this movie. I was blown away by the soundtrack. It's one of my favorite soundtracks of all time.
Great soundtrack.
Probably. Yeah, it's definitely in the top 5. It's so good, and in terms of sci-fi, I love it.
I will always credit both Nolan brothers for challenging their audience. They don't
Yes.
they don't dumb anything
Yeah.
down.
Super excited for Tenet.
No, yeah, me
Oh,
too.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
Do we want to say anything else?
Nope,
about, okay.
that's it.
My
Sorry,
number
what's
6?
your number 6?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Ah, yes.
This is a film that I honestly think is very underrated. Not a lot of people outside of like hardcore film fan circles seem to even know this movie exists.
Yeah.
It also did not do well at the box office.
Yes.
It is one of the funniest films. It's probably next to the Star Wars series. One of the films I've watched the most amount of times. My DVD has been watched so many times it's got scratches all over it. Like it's this film. It is hilarious. The writing is amazing, and the editing is on point for these jokes. There's a lot of our visual gags. So there'll be like a joke. For example, the one I always go back to real quick is Ramona will say, "Your hair's getting shaggy," and Scott will say, "No, it won't. No, it's not." But after it cuts from her saying that, and it cuts back to him, he's wearing a hat, and he wasn't before.
That's great.
Just these like subtle little like gags are just what make this movie so funny. It's my favorite Edgar Wright film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's...
So that
And
means
honestly,
Baby Driver's probably not on this
If
list.
we weren't going based off of film quality and solely based on nostalgia, it'd probably be higher up on this list.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah,
Ahmad.
I'm kind of going based off nostalgia, I guess. But I forgot to mention 2013, a dishonorable mention, which this is one of the ones I'm embarrassed about, is Pain and Gain with Dwayne Johnson.
Okay, no joke. This morning, I was told that I would love that movie. I was told that.
Really?
Former guest Matt, he told me this morning.
Wow.
He was
Yeah.
like, "This feels like a movie that you would unashamedly love," and I
Yeah,
was like,
I-
"Probably."
Yeah, I remember. I watched it. I watched it a couple of times. It's funny. There's some funny
Yes.
sequences, but yeah. All right. So 2014. 2014 is the year that I believe the next to 2019 might be the best year of the decade.
Okay.
So you have
I
films
agree
like
with that.
yeah, you have films like Nightcrawler, Lego Movie, Wolf of Wall Street, Big Hero 6, which is a film that That also
may show up again.
It probably will. But the film that Foxcatcher, the Birdman and the Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. But
Birdman came out.
Put the whole title in there.
But the entire I can't do it. I can't do my
Alejandro like that.
But the film of the entire decade that's affected me the most, without a doubt, is Whiplash. That came out that year.
Oh yeah.
That was the turning point for me. That's where I really took film seriously, and I secretly, not telling my parents because I didn't know how they'd react, but pursuing a possible career in film.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether or not it was feasible, but this film I could attribute to me being here with you guys right now.
Nice.
For me, it was probably Evil Dead 2.
Oh wow!
Yeah. One of the first two was probably that film.
Yeah.
That, and of course, I'm sure Star Wars had an unconscious
Oh,
effect on me.
Yeah. Scott Pilgrim, probably.
Scott Pilgrim too.
Yeah. No,
all right. So my number 5 is this little known movie called Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah. In 2014 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a 2014.
It was a great year, like I said.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk about it again. I think it's going to appear on not everybody's list, but other people's lists. At least one more list. And so I won't talk about it too much. Love this movie. Probably pound for pound my favorite MCU movie, but that might be contradicted with something later on this list. So with that, Caleb, what's your number? Is your number 5 also The Winter Soldier?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's up there further.
Yeah, it's up there further.
Okay.
The Avengers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I will say this top 5 is very predictable, if you know that.
Yes.
The number 5, The Avengers, would be higher on the list, but we had 4 more great films after that.
Yeah.
In terms of comic book movies, and that really impacted me. The Avengers was the first time where I was like, next to the the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, I was like, I'm back in. I'm back into a series. I love it. I still remember going to see that day.
Yeah.
See it that day, the way that whole entire day went out.
I remember.
How I remember going into the theater, how I remember going out of the theater, and I just remember the crowd, that feeling. It was such a great experience.
There's nothing like that first time where you see all these heroes come together on screen at once. Is a feeling that I do not know if I will ever see replicated.
It was definitely a dream come true for me.
That roundabout shot of the team.
I mean that was
iconic.
The shot where it first clicked for me though was the one where at that party in Germany and Loki's there and Captain America is and Iron Man lands right behind him. He's playing AC/DC.
Yeah.
That's when you're just like, this is actually happening.
It's finally
but like
here.
I I know now this might sound stupid to say, but back then it did not seem like it was something that was possible to.
Yes.
Like the idea of having an Avengers film with all of these different characters, actors from different movies.
Just
that
six
was,
people.
That was unheard of.
That was the max amount we
I was like, this is the top. This is the pinnacle of this, and of course we'd find out that it's only the beginning. And
we're still moving forward.
Right.
We're still going.
Forward. But it's a movie that'll not be forgotten soon.
Sawyer, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Skyfall.
It's the James Bond movie,
yes,
right?
James Bond,
Great
Skyfall. It is not my favorite Bond film. Casino Royale is still my number 1.
Yeah.
But if we're talking, Casino Royale obviously can't be on here because it's 2006.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the one, it's definitely better than Spectre. It is. It is a perfect. You got to think about also the year this came out. This was the 50th anniversary of the James Bond series. It is the perfect film to celebrate that anniversary. It pays homage to every previous Bond as well as all the Bond tropes, while also keeping it modern. It's an amazing film, amazing Bond film. And it stands on its own well enough that you don't have to be a massive fan to enjoy this film.
Yeah. Great. All right, Ahmad. This is 2015, right?
Is it 20?
Yeah, last year was 2014.
Oh, that's right. Okay. 2015. Mad Max Fury Road, The Revenant, and The Force Awakens. I got it on there.
I always, for some reason, I have it in my head that Force Awakens was 2014.
It was December 2015.
That's
Yep.
wild.
2015.
Trust me, I've got that burned into my skull. Like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
that
yep,
because
but-
they announced it 5 years before.
No, 5 years before. Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, not 5 years before.
Well, I thought it
that's
was
when
2012.
That's
Yeah, because Disney bought Lucasfilm in 2012.
Oh, is that... Was it 2012?
Yeah, because that's...
oh, I guess it was 2012.
I don't know.
But I think it was 5 years. That was-
I don't know.
Anyways.
I mean, I felt like that. I mean, by the
Yeah.
time the film came out, but yeah, all really solid films. Mad Max Fury Road was an unexpected hit, and I saw the original Mel Gibson ones after that, and they were good.
I honestly still give Roadrunner, Road
Road
Warrior
Warrior,
a slight bump above
Fury Road. Yeah, I love how I saw Fury Road first. That was my first entry, kind of, and then a lot of other ones. But yeah, that's that's all I gotta say.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yep. Keep it moving.
My number 4, and this is a contradiction to what I said about number 5, is Avengers: Infinity War.
Mm.
So walking
we can
out of
combine that.
okay, is that your number 4
Yeah.
as well? All right,
Yeah.
so that's Caleb's number 4. Walking out of that theater and just thinking, wow,
Yeah.
not only was that an amazing movie, they topped everything else they ever did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, Winter Soldier, I think, is a better movie,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of achievement and emotion and
Shock.
and just like raw impact,
Yeah.
Infinity War blew it out of the water.
There are
so
still lines and moments in that movie that will give me chills when I think about
Yes.
it. Like the dreaded "run from it, destiny
Yes.
still arrives" all the
All
same.
the
Like
same.
that is a line that like I
Yeah.
can hear it in my head and still get goosebumps. Like
Yeah.
hearing it in his voice.
Every time I think about Thor landing in Wakanda,
I know you and I in the lab every Friday put that scene on.
No, I mean, I was
it.
with you guys. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
the
we
thing
just
is-
like watch that scene on loop, and we're just like,
the thing is I mean, I remember the moments before the Infinity War came out, and I knew there were a lot of questions as to how they would pull off Thanos.
how
I mean,
Right.
what
not just Thanos, but the entire movie.
But the entire
right?
movie, yeah. But is Thanos going to look? Is he going to look believable? Or is he going to look
Yeah.
menacing? Is he going to look like But they pulled him off and remind me of who
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin voices Thanos.
Yeah.
It's in a really
He was
good-
that is perfect casting. People
Yeah.
like
Right.
he is the voice for that
yeah,
character.
and like anytime you see him on screen, it's like I want more of
Yeah.
this. But like they have him just right for the right amount to
Yeah.
where he's menacing on the screen.
I mean the idea of killing Spider-Man on screen.
Yeah. Not just
I
Spider-Man, but like
knew-
a kid Spider-Man
Right.
too.
I-
Like,
Spider-Man. Don't forget, Black Panther had just made like huge waves
Right.
months before. Like,
Yeah.
I knew that we were getting a Spider-Man sequel at that point because
Yeah.
they had already announced it, but I can't even tell you how much in shock I was to see
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Yeah.
die in front of me as someone who
grew up with the character.
grew up
Yeah.
with Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
that was the person that the Sam Raimi movies
Yeah.
changed my life.
Same here.
Right.
Created my life.
You were born from
Spider-Man.
And
Mom Spider-Man.
I mean, like those movies affected me as well, very much
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
it's just that shock.
I
can't
will
get over
never
it.
forget sitting in that theater and when I hear the Mr. Stark "I don't feel so good" thing hit me like a truck. Like it
Yeah,
was
that
just like,
silence as soon as like they
Yeah.
start to fade away.
I remember
that was-
audibly saying "Oh no" in the theater
I-
when
I-
that
I-
happened.
that genuinely-
my oh no was Groot. I was just like, oh
Yeah.
no.
I mean, like there
You
were
did
so many
this.
during that sequence, but it was really
Yeah.
when I heard Peter, I was
I
like,
just couldn't believe.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I didn't think this was.
I didn't think they would do that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
honestly
I was
didn't
just.
have
I was
to-
really just genuinely confused as to where they would go. Like,
Yeah.
how are
Yeah.
they going?
Well, and I was like, well, how are they going to solve this? This movie can't have more time. And then
Yeah.
when it just ends with Thanos like staring at the sunset, I was like, I am genuinely shocked. Like,
Yeah.
I did
What
not
is
expect
this?
They
that.
had the guts to actually
They did it.
do it.
That's
Yeah.
even the line at the end, isn't it? It's like, or no, it's in the end game where it's like, he did it. Like, that's
Yeah,
Right.
he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sawyer, you're number 4.
My number 4 is a tie between Winter Soldier and Civil War.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think Winter Soldier. I mean, like Civil War is one I had more fun with because it's cool just
Yes.
getting to see all your heroes together
So
on
it
screen.
is in terms of like enjoyment, yes,
Yes.
I give that.
But
to
I do
Civil War.
think Winter Soldier is probably in terms of best made,
Yeah.
the best one of the MCU. I also think that Winter Soldier is, out of the entire saga, the one that strikes the perfect balance between humor and action.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
None of the scenes with humor in this film break the tension,
Mm-hmm.
or just, I guess, like, always the example I go back to is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
While I enjoy that film, that stupid dance number at the end completely ruins any threat that villain had.
Yep.
This film has some great comedic moments, but it does not ruin the dramatic weight of this film, and had the willingness to just say, I know we just introduced the series, but we're getting spoilers. Destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, they just did that. Like, it's
With
that was
no
great.
remorse.
it's great film, and also the pairing. I wish we had gotten more, but the pairing between Nat and Captain America is a great pairing.
Yep.
All right, Ahmad.
This is where Ahmad starts to get a little more snobby, but Manchester by the Sea, Moonlight, Hacksaw Ridge, and Edge of 17 were all films that
All movies that are on my list that I haven't seen.
haven't seen. Yeah, really really good films.
I really want to see Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge was a really good film. Of course, Mel Gibson directs, and Andrew Garfield, who I was really rooting for at a certain point. I don't know what the hell happened to him. I don't know what happened to him.
I think he's still kicking. I just think he's like.
I mean, of course, I would hope. I mean,
He's not dead.
Yeah.
But I think he's still
Kicking
working.
back
I just think he just hasn't had a movie in a while.
Yeah.
When they make a live action Into the Spider-Verse, we'll see
Yeah.
him in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
God.
I
But yeah,
need it.
these are all films that I really enjoyed that year, and of course, La La Land was. Cause you gotta mention that.
Yeah.
You know, Damien Chazelle, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
I really haven't watched any of those movies.
So the
2017 was a
The-
I've been
That was
wanting
a
to
year,
watch
yeah.
Edge of 17 so bad
Yeah,
that
Edge
it
of
keeps
17
being
is
up on my watch
really,
list.
really
I'm like,
really good.
oh, I want to watch it, but I can't tonight. That's,
Yeah.
that's
It's
how
one of
like
those-
it's so close to being watched.
Yeah.
Next to A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
A Quiet Place that year. We have to watch that. You gotta watch that before.
Yeah, because the second one comes out pretty soon.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So my number 3, the cast might have seen me get out a pen and try to scribble something on my list, and that was because I forgot that this movie should be my number 3, even though I put something else on my number 3. So my number 3, before I realized I forgot something, was the first Avengers movie.
Okay.
And then when I realized what I forgot, I wasn't able to because this paper's weird, but I put Inception in the number 3 spot.
Okay, makes sense.
And, I've talked about Inception before several times, I think, and it's the movie that cemented Nolan as probably my favorite director. And it's sort of between that and Memento, but Memento wasn't 2010, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, Avengers is a good movie. It's partly responsible for getting me into filmmaking, but yeah.
Okay.
Inception.
So the sequel to Infinity War,
Avengers Endgame at number 3.
Ahmad knows my experience firsthand.
Oh, yeah,
I know that. I know your first hand experience.
Oh, yeah.
I
Is
love
there
looking
what-
over at Caleb and just seeing all the emotions in his face.
Yes.
But also, like, I couldn't really see anything because after that movie, I was blind. Really, it was third.
I'm sorry about
No,
that.
I mean,
That's
it was,
my fault.
No, I mean, dude, it was still everywhere I looked, it was just a part of the screen which really made the movie a lot
Yes.
better. Because like,
Yeah.
the second time we saw it, I think. We saw it at the Woodland
We
Mall.
saw it at the Woodland Mall,
was-
and it was just
The
like
reactions weren't as good.
the most.
It was-
Like
it was
seeing
kinda
it
depressing.
opening night was the best way you could have
It
possibly
was.
seen.
It was. I mean, that experience in the theater is probably the best experience I've had
Yes.
watching a movie
Yeah,
in theaters in
I
terms
agree.
of I mean just overall like the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, actually seeing it in IMAX, third row. I mean, like it was, and this is right off of Infinity War. So like,
Yeah.
every part of this movie, I'm sorry, I'm taking that.
No.
Every part of this movie I enjoyed, and it was 3 hours. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just,
There are so many moments that I will never forget from this film. I
Yeah.
know I said
Yeah.
it in Infinity War too, but in this one, some of the, specifically Cap using the hammer is...
Cap using the hammer.
Yeah.
Portals.
If we want to talk
Portals.
about that moment specifically,
When you-
that is the only moment ever in a movie theater where I have been like,
Just
the heck with the rules. I go, yeah! And I stand up out of my seat. I was so happy.
just like the Orson Welles like clapping. Jeffrey.
But dude, it was just like there were some
so
moments,
good.
but like there was the moment where like the end where Thor is hammers on the ground, and there's like this moment of silence. Everybody in the theater is like,
Thor's gonna die.
Everyone in the theater is like, what's gonna happen? And all of a sudden, there's like this moment of silence, and then you see it levitate a little bit, and then you see Captain America like just grab it, and then everybody just roar, everybody explodes.
Yeah.
And it's just like that, and like that like
Yes.
I have like sitting in a room full of like
fans,
and like it was just like. It was
people who love this property.
And I think the shot right before that scene, I actually might be slightly after, where it's Iron Man and Thor temporarily down for the count, and it's a pull-out wide shot. It's got Cap.
After.
Yeah. It's after. It's got Cap standing on this cliff against the entire
I
army.
was like, I want to post it.
Like, I need that as a
pretty
poster.
shot.
Like, it's basically, and it also being a great shot, perfectly in one image describes Captain America. His character is that.
Right.
I mean, I was expecting they were going to do an I can do this all day thing. They didn't. I mean, I'm kind of glad
they
they
did
did
that earlier in the movie.
Right. If Heath Ledger's Joker is my favorite villain from the 2000s, I think Thanos is definitely my favorite villain of the 2010s. So just for the MCEU, just from Avengers to, I mean, I'm counting Avengers to really Iron Man to, I mean, the entire MCEU, but or at least the Iron Man story.
And just.
But
I
am Iron Man. That was perfect. That was like
what a way
the entire
to
time is just like his like I'm inevitable. And like anytime Thanos is on the screen, like I said from Infinity War or even Endgame, anything he'd say is just like you're with him and like you're kind of like enthralled by his kind of like presence on the screen and.
Let's
cut
it on Endgame.
That proves though how impactful that is.
Yeah. Like it didn't make my list, but it's definitely one of the best movies of this year or this decade.
I mean,
Sawyer.
Sorry.
You're number 3.
My number three is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
Oh,
I'm counting
both
parts together.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, because they're both 2010 anyway, so we're 2010s because 2010, 2011.
Oh yeah. I went to part 2 opening night. It was midnight.
I went,
that was kind of wild.
Like a couple days after.
Yeah.
But it was very close.
I saw part 1 on Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember when I saw the second one. But anyway. This. Many people don't always realize how big of a Harry Potter fan I actually am. Like when I was in elementary school, middle school, like it was a massive fan.
Have you read the books?
I have read the books.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm ashamed to say it. I've been called Harry Potter before, but I wouldn't say I'm a Potterhead. I think I'd get into the movies, but I've only seen bits and snippets, and the bits and pieces that I've seen I've liked. But for some reason, it was like the Lord of the Ring movies. I just hadn't seen the films consecutively, and hadn't really read the books so
we need to do that.
I'm in agreement.
I'm sure I would be a fan, but I just haven't seen them for whatever reason, so I'm not really.
I will avoid
break?
Spoilers.
Spring break.
I think this actually. The beginning of spring break, I'll be in your.
Oh, I guess
so we could do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm going to be on Jillian's.
Home.
I might be going.
All right, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we could do something that Friday.
Yeah, we'll figure it
Yeah.
out. The Deathly Hallows, without spoilers for Ahmad here, it's a perfect. I mean, like if Endgame is the best conclusion to that story, this is. I think the only criticisms I would really have is part 1 slows down a bit towards the middle. But I think it's highly impactful, it's emotional, it's great, all the characters are great, and to actually have a series of 10 years to actually see these kids grow up and have this story end with them is great.
Nice. Ahmad, you're number 3,
2017. 2017 was also a pretty strong year. I think it's really 2014, 2017, and 2019 for me. But 2017, Get Out.
Oh, good.
Get Out was 2017. Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig, Jordan Peele, Shape of Water. That was another one. This is really when I was like freshman year of college. Really starting to get that film cap on.
Split in there?
Split I didn't put in there.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
2017?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I thought it was 2016.
Yeah. But Shape of Water, Ingrid Goes West, which
I have yet to
Aubrey,
watch that.
yeah, Aubrey Plaza, really good actor. She I haven't really seen her much recently, but and then Blade Runner 2049. Actually, looking at 2018, holy crap, there's a lot there.
Yeah, 2018 was a year.
I think 2018 was. I mean, that's a good movie, but yeah. So of course, Get Out when I first saw it.
Yeah. Blew a lot of people away.
Blew a lot
Yeah.
of people.
I haven't
blew
seen
me
it.
away.
I haven't
Actually,
seen it much.
I'm ashamed to say it again. A lot of things. I'm just. This is like me confessing here, but I watched it bootlegged on my phone. I was one of those. I was one of those. I was
one of those.
I was one of those. It was a rambunctious high school senior year. I think that was my senior year.
To take some of the heat off you, I will say I did that, but for 7 seasons of Game of Thrones. So I'm a little worse.
But yeah, I mean,
Tisk.
but you know,
it wasn't bootleg though. I did it on the HBO app, but
sometimes you just can't
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
do what you do, and you can't afford all these streaming services and everything. But yeah, so Get Out really changed my perception of this kind of portraying things and certain things in film. Also representation.
Yeah.
Wrote a paper on it freshman year as well.
And really established Jordan Peele as a director to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
Yes.
and a director to be reckoned with, and really started to see a lot of filmmakers who are like traditional comedians. Who I've always been I've always been a proponent of this idea that comedians are people who are very familiar with comedy, are very good people who are very good filmmakers who are capable of doing dramas.
Yeah.
So this was one, and then John Krasinski was another. But yeah, that's
Cool.
So my number 2. So my top 2 is always going to fluctuate in terms of movies. Big Hero 6.
Yeah, I knew
Hit
that.
my- hit
I
my
think I know
number
what
2.
your number 1 is now.
Yeah.
Actually.
Wait, what?
I think now knowing that, I know what your number 1 is.
I hope you know what my number 1 is. Yeah, Big Hero 6, incredibly special movie. It for the longest time took my top spot, but what number 1 is to me is also incredibly special. So it's sort of like I can't reconcile my feelings about both of them. So it's always going to fluctuate. But yeah, Big Hero 6, what a movie! I have so many sort of special memories attached to that movie, alongside just like loving it as a movie. I can go back and watch it every single time and love it just as much as I did the last time I watched it.
You know how I was, like, I recently watched it over the break, and I think I texted you. I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is so much better than I remember it. And I
Yeah.
really liked it the first time
Yeah.
around. I mean, it's such a good movie.
It's the single most underrated Disney movie of all time.
Again, though, when that came out, it was 2014,
Yeah.
correct? So, yeah, Inside Out came out in 2015. So, again, that was during the period of age of, like...
It was between Frozen and Inside Out, and it's just like it got forgotten.
It is the most, I would say, especially out of the modern period, is the most underrated animated Disney film.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Big Hero 6, I mean, you had films like Wreck-It Ralph, which were good.
Yeah.
You had films like Frozen, which were also good.
Frozen and Tangled, both great
really,
movies.
really good. But they usually get the attention, like you said. But Big Hero 6, when I first saw it, I just that first the first quarter of the film, really, really heartfelt, really sad. I wasn't expecting that, and of course, I didn't know it was a part of the Marvel universe with Stan Lee in the.
It's based on a graphic novel.
But I
based on that comic.
love the characters and I love the animation. San Francisco, I think is what.
Yes.
I love the idea of that.
I have to get into that again.
I've only seen it a couple of times, and that was like back in 2015,
2014.
2014. Oh, 2014. Wow. God, I feel like
It makes you feel old. Yeah.
Wow,
I was like, it kind of hit me. I was like, wait, that was.
I thought it was like recent, but I have to rewatch that because it was back in 2014 when I
definitely rewatch it.
Disney Plus.
Yes. Give it a rewatch.
Give Mickey some more money.
I'll give him all the money.
Hey, if he keeps cranking out this good content.
Then,
Sure, why not? Caleb, your number 2. It's Winter Soldier.
Robin Hood 2018.
Wait.
And with that, Caleb has been officially announced.
The room
dismissed.
was silent. Just silent.
No, I hate that movie with
Well,
passion.
Time to
head out.
Tomorrow, next week, we'll be remembering all the highlights of Caleb Highs. That's all.
next week. Caleb's parents won't be able to find him.
He's being scrubbed from the record now.
Quick, erase everything.
Sawyer's face when he just sinks down so far.
I was just like,
I could see.
I was just so for one thing, I forgot that movie came out, and then I looked into the data banks, and I was like, wait a second, didn't everybody hate that movie?
Yeah. Well, my just like look of disappointment should have given that away.
I was just like, wait a second.
That is my least favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
So I just
Least
had to throw
favorite.
in that joke at one
Had
point.
to throw it in there.
So my second, it should not come as a surprise to represent the tears in my eyes right now. Logan.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Logan.
let's double up because number 2 is Logan
Okay.
for me
Alright.
as well. Yeah. You continue if you want. Yeah.
Logan is. You know, I talk about crying at things all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That ending.
I cannot get through this movie without absolutely bawling.
Yeah.
The images and the way that whole entire journey you go through in that movie,
Mhm.
and again, just the imagery, the fact that you have the X symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how
grave.
Lauren just knows. Like, 'cause I think
Yep.
what I think was so great about that is that the whole movie, he keeps telling her when she has the X-Men comics, like, it's fake, it's made up, it's lies,
Yep.
nothing happened like that. Just sort of seemingly hating the X-Men, and for her knowing that deep down it wasn't the case when she actually changes it.
Yeah.
Like, that's Logan. And I also think that it's subtle, but the Logan throughout this whole movie saying, like, I want you to be better, don't be rage, don't be all this,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to save them, has to literally just let out the rage and
Yep.
the Wolverine as he's known in order
Yeah.
to
That
to save them.
That was
Yeah.
that was a sad film. I mean,
Yeah. And brutal too.
Sad,
It is
brutal,
really
unexpected.
brutal.
I mean,
Like just that opening when he's like fighting those gangsters, and like just I was like, oh, I know it's R-rated, but I don't know if they'll go all out.
Right.
And then that opening, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're going all out.
Logan with Wolverine is a character that I
Mm-hmm.
also another character that I grew up with.
All of us, I'm pretty sure, grew up with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I didn't really mention this, but X-Men: Days of Future Past was a surprise for me when I first saw it. I didn't think that was going to be as good as it was, but it was really good.
Yeah.
And then also the Wolverine. I know it's not not looked at as.
I like that one.
I
Yeah.
liked it as well. It was
The
based
Wolverine?
Yeah,
The Wolverine.
2013
Not
one.
X-Men Origins.
It was loosely based off of like a manga.
I still-
Yeah, it was.
series,
There's
so-
a specific run of
Don't-
the Wolverine comics
Yeah.
that goes to Japan.
Yeah.
I would recommend. Side note: if you get a chance to,
Yeah.
it's for some reason, unless you buy digital, the Blu-ray only comes with the Blu-ray 3D copy.
Huh.
But the Unleashed extended edition of the 2013 Wolverine is worth checking out.
Huh.
It adds back in some CG blood where they had pulled it out
Right,
for.
because they were on the verge of getting rated R on that one.
It's basically the R-rated cut of that movie. It's nowhere near Logan levels of
Okay.
R-rated, but it's much more true to Wolverine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was,
Yeah.
what I'm about to say might tread the thin line, but X-Men Origins. So X-Men Origins.
We don't have time for X-Men Origins.
X-Men Origins.
We're out of time.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
X-Men Origins.
There are parts that I like. I will
Good
admit
movie,
that.
but a lot of bad.
But a lot of bad
Yeah.
parts, and like I really haven't seen it in a while. So I mean I don't know.
Right.
How
Your
well
opinion
it's,
could be vastly different.
But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, yes.
We're out of time.
All right.
All right.
That's all we have for me
Number
today.
Ahmad,
one.
Oh,
You're
yeah, you're
2018.
Actually, yep. All right.
We're not actually out of time. But
Yeah.
We're out of time for that.
Yes. We are just in general out of time right now.
Right. 2018 X-Men Origins. So let's talk more about that.
I'm just gonna leave.
So Black Klansman.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Black
Good
Klansman. I'll never forget.
It's back on track a little
Yeah.
a really well made film, but I'll never forget the final couple of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The final scene, especially where I was kind of just I was nailed to my seat. It was very very impactful, and yeah, I just can't forget. I won't forget that how much it resonated with me and everybody else in the theater too. You could almost feel it sometimes when you're in the theater. You could feel the atmosphere.
We both saw that together, right?
We saw it together.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. So I saw it alone the first time.
That's what I thought.
But the second time
yeah.
I was with Simon and you happened to be in the theater.
Yeah.
And we
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I will say,
right.
as great as I hear this film is, I'm gonna need to like force myself to watch it because as a film major, it's almost like blasphemy to say it, but Spike Lee is one of the only directors I don't like.
I know. So
Like,
the thing with Spike Lee is I guess it's an acquired taste. I mean, Spike Lee's on the nose, and he's very upfront about the things and issues that he wants to address.
It's not necessarily the, and I know we don't have a lot of time for this, but it's not necessarily the issues being addressed. It's the fact that he is like, he almost has the Tarantino levels of like, I'm the best, I deserve the award. When he like stormed out when Black Klansman got beat by Green Book.
Yep,
like,
and like I mean,
which great that I can understand the argument.
Green Book, that was the year at the Oscars that kind of made me mad. But like, although I don't agree with I don't agree with that side of like him of like stomping out. But I mean I gotta give it to him. The movies he makes, some of the movies he makes.
I'm sure they're great. They're just not for me necessarily.
Right. But they're effective.
I'm sure they're effective. I do need to see this one, right? Because I've heard it's great.
It's a great movie. It's entertaining. Adam Driver does a really good.
I do like him.
Humor very well.
Adam Driver is the new Nick Cage.
Adam Driver is my new favorite actor.
This was the movie, where I was like, Adam Driver.
For me, it was probably
has to be on the radar nowadays.
Now, Marriage Story was like he could play anything.
Yeah.
For me, it was probably Midnight Special.
Oh, Midnight Special.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've talked about that before on here.
Shannon,
y'all need to
Michael
Shannon.
Michael Shannon. Yeah.
Y'all need to check that out.
A Star is Born, also really good.
Yeah.
Roma. And last but not least, I'll never forget this. This is also another really good experience. But I went to go see this alone, watching Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good movie.
I remember, like...
I teared up. It was...
Me too.
I teared up for like three... Well, A Star is Born made me tear up, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That part in Spider-Verse, even though it's not necessarily a sad scene, when Peter Parker's going back... Spoilers. Peter Parker's going back to his own timeline, and he feels like... See you around, kid.
Yeah.
Just jumps back into the photo.
The one I think you might be mentioning. You're about to mention.
Caleb, I went to see it with you, right?
Yeah.
You
went to go see
Was
it.
The three
I
of
saw
us?
that movie 4 times in the theater, so my
but
brain
the
like...
the scene where Miles is on the other side of the door and his dad.
Oh, that's right.
That was a very.
I did go to see it with you because
we're forgetting the
I
most
went to
obvious
see it with you the
stereotype.
first time you saw it because
the brother,
Caleb.
the
I was
uncle,
thinking
the uncle.
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
Like when he says like sooner or later, it always fits.
Yeah,
man, that's
Caleb. I know I went to see it with Caleb because the scene where they mimic the Spider-Man 3
oh my god
the finger guns
the second I saw
he jumped out of his chair. He was so excited.
Okay, I was wrong. That was the other instance where I jumped out of my chair in a movie theater.
You were just like you were pumping your fists so hard.
We do need to have a legit entire discussion about just this film because I don't know if we've ever done that.
No, I'd love to.
I thought we did a Spider-Verse thing.
We weren't here when it came out because it was winter break.
I thought we talked about it when we came back. I don't know. We'll talk about it again.
I want to rewatch it. And if you guys want to rewatch it,
It's on Netflix.
I have it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's
It's
got
on
it.
Netflix.
Yeah, I'd like to rewatch it.
Caleb owns it, and it's on Netflix.
I'm probably gonna buy it at some point too, even if it is on that.
Yeah, seriously though, movie night. I'm down to.
Yes. All right. So my number one is a film that hit me like a train. And I will never forget my first viewing experience of this movie. I was in my dorm. My roommate had just finished watching it on his computer. And I was like, I've heard really good things about it. Let me, rent it on my PS4.
I know who this is.
And Your Name.
Yes.
Makoto Shinkai's sort of break into the pop culture industry. has its permanent spot in my top 3 films of all time.
Honestly, I thought you were gonna say Frozen.
Frozen and Frozen 2 are in my.
Okay,
give him some more credit than that.
Hey, I know
Hold
you
on,
really
hold on.
love that film, so I was giving him.
I love Frozen.
Yeah.
I don't love Frozen that much.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
well,
I was gonna say I know.
fair.
I don't love it that much. I talk about it a lot because I think people give it too much of a bad rap.
Yeah.
But I don't love it that much. Your Name is a special movie. I think sort of in the same way that Nier Automata reminded me of why I love video games, Your Name sort of did the same thing for me. Not just from an anime perspective, but from a film perspective. This movie is a time travel romance that is not sci-fi, and it's perfect.
I remember you talked about it a little bit on some previous podcasts, and I was very interested in checking it out. I finally checked it out so I could have a discussion.
This is our movie night.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I would rewatch this. I'd also watch Weathering with You because
we need to see Weathering with You too.
Also, I've got both Ghost in the Shell and Akira here.
Let's just watch all 4 movies.
All anime.
Sure.
But I was gonna say
Your name needs to be at the top of that list.
Yeah.
I wanna hammer that point. That movie is unexpected.
Yeah.
We need to find an excuse to throw in Dragon Ball Super Broly in there.
You both have seen it.
I know. I'm going to say, maybe you can throw it in there again.
It's a good Dragon Ball.
I just feel like this film really disproves this idea that anime or animation can't be something that's a little more profound than your typical slapstick.
It legitimately. I was sobbing.
Yeah.
I was so invested in this movie. And the fact that I was not disappointed at the end of this movie should say something about how good this
People
movie
need to keep looking to Japan to prove that animation is not just a dumb Saturday morning kids thing. It's like it is a legitimate format.
Example that I always throw out: Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah,
that's
Grave of the Fireflies. I mean, the ones I just mentioned: Akira, Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. I mean, anything. Your Name and Weathering with You. But
anything Studio Ghibli, really.
Right. This film is beautifully animated.
Beautiful.
I hadn't seen anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned I was talking to you about it. And, photorealistic. Apparently, they were pulling from actual streets. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently, like that's. I was actually watching a making of, and there were. The director was pulling from actual city streets and city streets.
Me.
Yeah, and so it looks realistic.
Your Name is. It's one of the most special movies I've ever watched, and Caleb, what's your number 1?
Number 1, Cats 2019.
Okay, now I know
now you're just messing with us.
Yeah, I am messing with you. That's a whole other tangent.
Did you see Cats?
Yeah, I did see Cats for free.
Okay.
Because there was no other way.
I was going to say, did you pay for this film?
We're out of time.
Okay.
The Winter Soldier.
Okay,
Which is why I made that joke. We had time.
Yeah.
The Winter Soldier is the definition of a perfect movie next to Logan for me. I love this movie. We talked about the balance between the humor and the action.
Yeah.
This movie will also bring me to tears, specifically a moment with
Nick Fury,
Steve and Peggy.
Yes.
That one wrecks me.
Well, and for me, it's the one where, spoilers, at the end of the film when they're Bucky and Steve are just beating the crap out of each other, and Steve just says, "I'm with you till the end of the line," and the look on Bucky's face is just.
It's such a good movie. Yeah. I cannot give this movie enough. And
the action is really well shot.
It's the most. It's the comic book film that I felt like most represented. Is the most representative of our time and generation, and I think it speaks so many volumes. It
also manages to address current issues without being polarizing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not one of those ones where this is how you should feel and screw you if you disagree. It addresses issues without saying without trying to demonize half of a group.
Which is
Right.
Civil War does the same, successfully pulls off the same thing,
Yeah.
and that's what the Russos are really good at doing.
Love this movie.
Nice.
I cannot give it enough. The only reason why it's higher than Logan, maybe a controversial hot take, is because it's more rewatchable. Logan I can't watch.
Logan is it's not one you can just throw on at any time
Yep.
and enjoy. You have to be in a specific.
Winter Soldier I can't.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier you can
Any
watch
place,
any
as
mood.
many times.
And I'd say it
So-
works just as well without having seen the first Avenger. Really.
Yep.
I can agree
Well,
with that.
I do say
I mean,
the
you
first
still
Avenger
should.
impacts Winter Soldier
Yes.
Yeah.
more, but
But I said, like, if you just went in on its own, you could enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
My
So
number
your-
one
your number one.
is not only my favorite film of the 2010s, but probably one of my favorite films of all time.
Okay.
This is, for me, a lot of the time when I see a movie, I'll enjoy it, and obviously nowadays we'll talk about it on the podcast here, but I won't constantly be thinking about it as soon as I have a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
This film I was thinking about for days. It is,
Okay.
I did theories, I looked up, like, analyses on YouTube. It's Blade Runner 2049. What'd you think it was, Caleb?
I was right on the sci-fi realm.
Yeah.
I thought you were going Ex Machina.
No, I really enjoy Ex Machina.
Yeah.
But it's,
Well, you guys are in the sci-fi class.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049 is beautifully shot.
I have to see it.
I'll avoid spoilers.
I haven't seen.
I'll avoid spoilers, but it's beautifully shot. It honestly is one of the few sequels that is, in my opinion, much better than the original. I love the original. The original is a classic, but this film enhances and basically just goes above and beyond everything the original one did. It's bigger in scope. The characters have more depth. The world is fleshed out. And in terms of the way it's shot, Roger Deakins, I can't remember if I know he was nominated. I don't remember if he won the Oscar.
He won.
For this. Okay.
Yeah, so that was last year. It was a consecutive year for him.
Yeah. It is just an amazing film. I also think that like the 22-minute anime that they did called Blackout 2022.
Yeah, I've seen parts of that.
I definitely recommend checking that out as well beforehand. It's on the Blu-ray, but
Okay.
It's out of all, like, they released 3 short films before it. The Blackout anime is really the only one you need to see. It's honestly cemented. I never have any idea how to pronounce his name, but Denis
Villeneuve.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
He is probably now one of my favorite directors. He's up there with Christopher Nolan for me as one of the ones that I will watch anything he's made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sicario is another one I didn't really mention.
And I still need to see Enemy and Prisoners, but I've seen Arrival, I've seen Blade Runner. I'm going to be there for Dune opening night.
Oh, dude,
Thanks.
Dune is
That's an anticipated movie.
Yeah,
if
this
you've ever
this
heard
next
of
year might be a good year for Timothée Chalamet with the French Dispatch and
Dune.
All
All right, Ahmad.
2019.
2019.
This is pretty fresh.
Yes.
I'm sure you can all guess it.
Is it nice?
But without a doubt, my favorite film of the entire
Parasite. That's right.
Yeah, my favorite film of the entire decade. Parasite. Parasite is
Which I still need to see.
I still need
Parasite.
to see too.
I'll watch it with you anytime. I'll probably buy it. I'm probably gonna buy the DVD or Blu-ray for it.
Just say you can buy it on it. I don't think I've bought a DVD new
Yeah,
in quite a while.
I tend to buy a DVD new if it's with the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't buy just a straight DVD
Yes.
anymore. Like, I'll buy the Blu-ray always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've already talked this film up a lot. There's an episode where I go off.
Yeah, but
But,
you and Matt
like-
went on for
Yeah,
a while.
yeah.
4 episodes ago.
Yeah.
No.
Five,
6
five,
probably
6.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a film that really kind of revitalized my love for film. I mean,
Wow.
every once in a while, you're just like, oh no, like, I'm sure the same thing happens with you with games or even television, where it's just like,
Yeah.
there's really isn't anything out right now. But Parasite came along, and that really changed everything for me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just Quentin Tarantino's understanding and his film love for this kind of like, for the Western genre of spaghetti westerns, which I love spaghetti westerns a lot, and seeing the detailed small parts of the film that he would put in, that kind of replicate what the westerns would, what they would, small aspects of westerns, spaghetti westerns specifically. That was nice to see. And then Honey Boy, Shia LaBeouf.
I
Shia
want to see
LaBeouf.
that.
Yeah, my
Making his comeback.
Yeah, he's making his comeback with Peanut Butter Falcon, with Honey Boy. I mean, my boy Shy got snubbed. My boy Shy got snubbed. do you have some things to say about?
I'm not a huge Shia fan myself.
Let's leave it at that.
I'm becoming a huge Shia fan. I mean, I wasn't 2 years ago. I wasn't last year.
You gonna go back and watch Even Stevens?
No.
No.
But I'll just stick to Honey Boy for now. And then Marriage Story, of course.
Okay.
Noah Baumbach's work is inspiring to me, and Greta Gerwig as well. Lady, Little Women.
Lady Little Women.
Lady Little Women. Yep. But
Little Bird.
Little Bird. But Marriage Story, like I said, Noah Baumbach's writing is extremely inspirational. Using it as reference, not necessarily reference, but using it as inspiration for my own screenplay, for my independent study next year, as well as Greta Gerwig's. As well as Greta. Wait,
I was just saying, like, hey.
Yeah, no,
It's like,
of course. I mean, you already know you're gonna be working on it, but Marriage Story. Really good
Okay.
So can we move on to TV? How are we
you
feeling?
gotta get going.
I do have to get
Ahmad,
going.
Ahmad, you gotta
Do
get
we
going.
want to?
Let's save TV for next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just sort of tack it on.
I mean, Birds of Prey we can wait as well, because I want you to be able to talk about that.
Birds
too.
of Prey can wait. Caleb and I are due a long conversation
time.
about this.
You can go ahead.
For Birds of Prey?
No.
No.
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts.
At this point, we're just in an episode designated just for that.
Honestly, I don't know why you guys didn't just do sat down together, just did a 30-minute separate one and just put it up.
Yeah, because
it
you
wouldn't
already
be 30
know.
minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
it would
be 30 minutes.
We're talking base game. We talked for 6 hours.
No,
Yeah,
I'm saying you guys should just do an entire separate episode, because I don't want to limit you guys to 30 minutes here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, we can do it now.
We aren't going. We're probably going to relatively avoid spoilers.
Yeah, because we might have somebody playing it.
Oh,
yeah, within the next few months or
I
something
think
like
that will limit our conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll limit the conversation. So
maybe we'll.
Ahmad, you have to go. Do you have anything else you would like to say to the audience before you go?
No. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you have a good week. Watch things, play things.
Watch and play things.
Watch all the stuff we recommended because it's very special.
And we'll get to TV next week.
Next week.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
No, wait, no. Bye for you.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.